know how to make it happen, but I want more. Climbing every mountain, keep both eyes on the top, and nothing's gonna tell me to stop. Oh, push me through the fire. All I'm gonna feel is the heat burning underneath of my feet. Ooh, so call me crazy, tell me lies. It won't stop me, watch me rise. No more anchors holding me down. All I need is more. One more hour, one more minute.
If the rook goes to f7, then there is still
hours on g4. So after king to f6 and king to f2.
Tenemos el rey ahí en e8 un poco mal, no podemos enrocar corto.
Y también se puede hacer, por ejemplo, alfil g4.
Защиту. Но пока что они этого не делают, играют ферзь d2, рокировка и теперь играют c4.
Thank you so much for the lessons.
Gracias por las clases.
Gracias por las clases.
Hello everyone and welcome to Chess 24. This is the Julius Baer Challenges Chess Tour where 16 extremely talented youngsters from across the world participate in two separate teams. Team Kramnik versus Team Polgar as the players fight it out for individual as well as Team Glory. Now this is day 3 of the Kramnik challenge and we've seen a lot of turnarounds, a lot of up and downs in the game, not just the games but the standings as well. Let's take a look at where we are in the event. Let's bring up our current standings before we start the day. And this is where it's at. Vincent Kaymer was leading the event until the start of day 2, but then we saw some phenomenal play by actually all the youngsters and we saw some turnarounds in the standings, and now we've got 2 leaders with 6 points, and Vincent, who is a big favorite in the event, currently at 3rd place, sharing it with Christopher Yu, half a point behind the sole leader, behind the leaders. We also have Lei Tingye and Sarah Kadem, who are having a fantastic event so far at 4.5. And you see the blue and the pink along with the names. The players who've got pink in front of them make up Team Kramnik, and the ones with blue make up Team Polgar. And as we can see, currently leading the pack is Team Polgar with 34 points and Team Kramnik 30 points. What is at stake? A lot. Individually, of course, the players are fighting for the big bucks. There's prize money involved, but most importantly, the winner gets a golden ticket to the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour. The next event, which starts on the 28th August, will feature the winner of the Kramnik Challenge. Team-wise, the winning team with the maximum points at the end of the tour gets a golden ticket to Dubai to watch the World Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen live. So lots to fight for, lots to play for, and with a massive chess action coming up, we've got 4 rapid games. It is a round-robin event with 16 players playing 15 games, and today we've got 4 games, 10 minutes with a 5-second increment. And to get us ready for all the chess action, as always, we've got our in-house chess expert, Grandmaster Surya Ganguly, who, as chat decided, we are going to be referring to him as Gangs, because the kind of analysis that he's been showing us has been blowing our mind. Very gangster stuff by Gangs. Let's bring him on as he's going to take us through some puzzle solving. Chat, what's up? Welcome, Gangs.
Hey Tania, how are you doing?
Well, and I'm very excited, of course, about the games that are about to start. But also, as I saw yesterday, you had some really fascinating puzzles prepared for all of us here. And gangs, I've got chat in front of us. By the way, a big shout out to everyone who are joining us on YouTube, on Twitch, on our Chess24 platform. We've seen that you guys have a bit of a fight going on. Who guesses the moves first? Who solves first? And gangs, they're super excited. So what do you have prepared for us today?
Well, yesterday, you remember there was this fortress where there was this king bishop and king knight, and white had a complete fortress, but then at the end unfortunately blundered. So I thought with that theme we can start to explain what is a fortress. The position that you are seeing on the screen right now, I call this anti-cheating positions or anti-computer position. If you turn on any engine, engines cannot solve this because they do not understand. So the final position, it will scream that black is winning, but in fact it is not. So this is white to move, and white has to make a draw. If you want to get confused, you can start the engine chat if you want, because it will not lead you anywhere.
That's an open challenge by gangs.
That's an open challenge, yeah. Human will always solve it faster, and computers will not lead you anywhere.
Wow, so this is almost like an anti-engine problem, and you're mentioning that actually the human mind can solve this, but a computer can't.
Exactly. So the computer in the final position, it will keep on saying it's like -5 and so on, but for human, the human can immediately understand, no, this is a fortress, you cannot break in.
Okay, so this is white to play you're mentioning. So chat, we have to solve this. This is white to play. As gangs mentioned, we have to try to hold this position with white. And all right, so tell us, what do you think is the answer to that? I am confused because gangs, while chat is also trying to solve, for me, it's obvious that black has a big threat. He wants to come in rook h2, attack the bishop and win the f2 pawn. And then it's clearly winning for black.
Absolutely. Once you lose these 2 pawns, right? Even if you maintain the bishop, sooner or later the king will invade, and yeah, rook is much stronger than bishop in this position. I mean, in general also it's stronger, but here it will be completely devastating once the rook enters.
And you were mentioning about fortresses. Can you tell us what a fortress is for those of us who are just new to chess? How would you explain a fortress?
Fortress is basically the name fortress came from real life example. A fortress in real life is something where you kind of get a shelter, and fortress where, I mean, we used to build fortress in ancient times because we, as a safeguard, right? We just stay inside the fortress and we don't allow the enemy to break the fortress and come in. That's all it is about. So in chess, it is basically you create some sort of a shield. It does not matter. You may have a very little army. Your opponent might have huge amount of material, but he will not be able to break the fortress.
You know, gangs, when you mention fortress, the first thing that comes to my mind is Magnus Carlsen saying he does not believe in fortresses. But despite that, we know that when it came down to the Magnus Carlsen chess tour of 2020, that epic final between Magnus and Hikaru playing with black in that Armageddon, it was in fact a fortress that made Magnus win that event.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rook bishop versus queen, that was with 1 pawn each.
So very often, your opponent might actually have a material advantage, but a fortress keeps it together. So what do we have? Maybe Tad can tell us if anyone in our chat has got the answer or the idea of how we can hold this position.
I see in YouTube already one player got it.
Wow, this is a tough one. Congratulations if you guys got this one, because I'm looking at this position and it is a brilliant one. I think I know what white has to do here, but I'm still not very sure. And if YouTube chat has got it, then gangs, we know. Our audience in chat, Grandmaster level.
And this one I know because it is an anti-computer problem. So there is no way, they could turn on the engine and say, oh, this is easy. That would not have been possible in this particular case. So clearly, not speed reader, Sachdev overall figured it out. So congratulations. Do you want me to
I've got someone at my door. I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. So Tania got some guests, and
Okay,
meanwhile,
I'm back. We're back.
Oh, that was fast.
I was like, chess is on D and D.
Right.
Okay,
So-
so talking of fortresses, you mentioned that somebody in chat has the answer, and I'm going to pull up chat and say hi to everyone there as well. How are you guys doing, and where are you joining us from, and who has solved this puzzle? It looks absolutely insane to me. Gangs, can you tell us who got it right and what is the way for white here? Can you break this
Yeah,
down
it
for
is.
us?
It is Shelef Oberoi who got it right. We bring the king, and now if the king gets here, then there is no entry on the h file. So obviously black would play rook h2, and the shocking move is king e1. You give up the bishop, takes, you play king f1, only square is rook h2. You play rook h2, white goes king h1, rook moves somewhere, does not matter. We play f3. Now this position, if you put in computer will say it's -5 or -6, whatever. Now the problem is, how do you break into this position? I am saying white will play king g1, king g2 as long as you keep your rook on h8. Now if you keep your rook on e file, then I will do king f2, king f1, controlling these two squares, and from g file I'm controlling these two squares. You can, if the rook could come to a6 magically, it would win, but the rook can never come to a6. And if you play a5 or b4, whenever you play b4, I'm playing a4. Whenever you're playing a4, I'm playing b4. So there's just no way black can break. And for eternity, white will be doing king g2, king g1, or king f1, king f2, depending on where black is keeping the rook.
Wow, this is amazing. This is a spectacular position that we have. So let me get this right. What you're mentioning is that from the g1, g2 square, the rook on h8 is not allowed to enter in because h2, h1 is controlled. When the rook goes to e8 and he moves his king away, threatening to go rook e2, rook e1, you stopped that with putting your king on either f2 or f1.
Correct.
You never open any file on the queen side. So what you're saying is that this is a fortress because black's king and rook have no entry points. And the g3 and the f3 pawn have to be kept there. You never push them forward because these pawns control e4, f4, g4, h4 squares.
Exactly. And the reason why computer, even at depth 50, will say black is winning, because depth 50 means it is counting next 25 moves in all permutation combination. But even after 25 moves, the position which he has, he's evaluating that, and that's a rook up. So no matter, even if he goes to depth 100, he has a position where he is rook up. He will keep on saying, black is +5, +6, whatever. But it is essentially a draw.
That's quite amazing. This anti-engine position showing the way forward. But we've noticed that actually with fortresses, that often fortresses defeat engines. Because for an engine, the evaluation of a piece or an extra pawn is so important that it's not able to see that there's no way to actually convert that into a win.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, shall we move on to the next position?
Let's do it. This one's super nice. Let's see what's the next one. I'm excited about the next one. Chess is fun. He's asking me, have I started preparing for the Chess Olympiad? I'm very excited about it. I'm actually very excited about another event after that as well, which is the World Team Championship. It's supposed to be in Spain, and absolutely started prep for it. I will give you an insight. And I am doing a lot of stuff on Chessable right now, while I'm looking at openings and working on my middle game. So that's helping me a lot.
Good to hear that. Talking about Chessable, have you gone through my course?
So, are you talking about the Nimzo course?
Yes.
So you do know that I'm a Nimzo player, right?
Right. It's
So
a long
what do you
time.
think? For a long time. Definitely, I will tell you one thing, that is a course that I have to look at, and I will be looking at, because it is one of my repertoire. I can't talk too much about openings. You know that as a chess player, it's kind of hard to talk about openings right before an event, but definitely a course that I would recommend. And not just because you're here with me.
So, Tania, this is a position, if somebody would ask me what is the best chess move I have ever seen, I would probably say it can be Topalov Shirov, the famous bishop h3, or the one which you are looking at right now. It's black to play and draw. If white moves his bishop practically anywhere except these two squares, it's just mate in one. And also if white plays queen g5, that is also mate in 1. So elimination here helps. Probably at this point we can say, if black moves any of these pieces, it's mate, right? I just move the bishop and then it's mate.
This looks dead lost for black.
It looks completely dead lost.
Like
And
black looks busted here. One move and it's checkmate.
Right. So there are 4 pieces that can move. So I would suggest, take one by one. For example, let's start with h7 bishop. Where can it move? This is going to be tough. So I'm also trying to help a bit.
All right, so chat, it's black to play here. Black is getting checkmated in about 5 million different ways in this position. So you have to try and fight that. We've got only about 2 minutes really, gangs. So chat is also under time pressure right now because liftoff will be really soon. Now, let's give chat a few seconds to actually get this position and try and come up with some answers. We've got our eye out on the Twitch chat as well as Chess24 as well as YouTube. We'll see who gets this one right. And of course, this is all about the Kramnik challenge, where in fact, in the Julius Baer Challenges chess talk, Gangs is one of the mentors for Team Polgar. Gangs feeling good about Team Polgar's lead in the event?
Very cool. Very satisfied. Very satisfied. So, yeah, the bishop on h7, for example, it cannot move to any of these squares because then bishop d1 is just mate. If we move the bishop to g6, takes, king g7 is forced, bishop check, king move is forced, mate. So this is a calculation. In calculation, there are many aspects. This is called elimination. So now only these 3 pieces can move. Let's take this bishop. There is queen g5 mate happening. If you play bishop f4, I take, and then subsequently queen g5 will be mate. Bishop g3, rook g3 doesn't change the position, it's all the same. We are talking about queen and the rook. Can someone tell me what happens after rook e1 check as white? Very quickly, guys, we are lifting off in like 1 minute.
Rook e1 check, white to play and mate in 1. Let's see if chat actually gets this one right. Meanwhile, shout out to Mr. Dodgy. Thank you so much for your raid on Twitch now. Chat, follow Mr. Dodgy on Twitter. I think, gangs, I have to say, he is one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. He is just the funniest person I know. And you're not even on Twitter if you're not following Mr. Dodgy. So go do that. Thanks for that raid. Although I don't know, Mr. Dodgy, if that actually helps without watching. But thanks anyway.
Bishop d1, we got it in Twitch. We also got it in YouTube. It's bishop d1 checkmate. Very easy move to miss. This is not forced. Bishop d1, discovered check and mate. So with elimination, we come to the fact that only queen can move. But where does it move? If you play queen f5, bishop moves, check, queen h5 and checkmate. So I'm giving the solution right now. We do have a solution, by the way. Once again, Sachdev got it right. Yeah, that's the only answer I see.
A lot of people got bishop d1 right. I've just pulled up YouTube. Shout out to the Triggeranist, Shavlav, Shlok, bishop d1 in YouTube chat. On Twitch also, we had a lot of bishop d1. So well done, guys.
And of course, we have Grandmaster Alexander Rustemov once again back, and he is spot on. Queen g4, one of the best move I have ever seen. The g4 square was controlled by 4 different pieces, and still queen g4 is the only move that holds the game. The reason, very quickly, guys, if rook g1, if rook takes g4, it's mate in 2 for black. Do we have time to ask the chat, or I show it?
Let's show it because we do have action. So let's quickly. Queen g4 is a total knockout move. So let's just show how this ends.
This is just mate after rook takes g4. White gets mated, in fact. If h4, then bishop f4 and bishop g5, we escape. We after all have 3 pieces for queen. For queen takes g4, there is rook g8 hitting this rook. Once again, f4 is controlled.
Wow.
That leaves only one move, bishop g4. When we come back, and then we are getting a shelter with bishop to g6, and we actually escaped.
We're alive. That is incredible. Queen g4, putting the queen where it can be captured by 4 pieces, and that doesn't help. As you mentioned, gangs, one of the most beautiful moves in chess you've ever seen.
Exactly, without a doubt.
And is this an actual game?
Yeah, this is a game between Paraguay Mark and Debashish Dash. In the game, white rook was on d1, so the position was something like this. The game was bishop f7, king g7, rook g1, and believe it or not, here also Debashish Dash missed the only move to hold this queen g4.
You just give up the queen, you got rook in 2 pieces, the king comes back and you're safe.
Yeah, you need the square.
Very
All right,
nice.
the games have started.
The games have started. Chat, this was a tough lesson, I have to say. Both these positions that we saw, but we see that in chat is ready for this stuff, which means that they're ready for the games as well. This is our action coming up on the beginning, the start of day 3 of the Kramnik challenge. Some big matchups here. Vincent playing against Carissa. Carissa has been very on form in this tournament. The other player that I've been very excited about is Polina Shivalova. She had a tough start yesterday, but survived that, won 2 back-to-back games. In fact, she was one of the players who almost defeated Vincent on day 1 as well. So going to be interesting to see how Polina fares today. Lots of big matchups coming. Gangs, what is the opening action that we have?
In Vincent, we have the classical King's Indian. It's called bayonet attack. Actually, we started with a very classical King's Indian. Now, when we are talking about bayonet attack, there are so many Kramnik games that comes in mind, and I remember at some point Kramnik gave nightmare to all the King's Indian players with this particular variation. Trying to get c5 as quickly as possible. Here there are many options, a lot of ways for black to play. a5 is one of them, and now suddenly white does not go for c5. Obviously white cannot play a3 because a takes d4. Theory goes like takes, and taking advantage of this rook, playing a4, trying to get bishop to a3, knight to d2, and eventually trying to play c5. So knight d7, trying to get f5, taking control over the c5 square, bishop a3. All this has been played number of times. h6 in order to play f5, because if you play f5, you have to watch out for moves like knight g5, the knight jumping to e6. So h6 have been played, knight g2 and rook a8. Although if I remember correctly, without h6 also black would play f5. And we have this typical King's Indian position where white will be constantly trying to break on the queen side, and black will try to create some kind of mating attack on the king side.
Very interesting. Now, Vincent, I think every point today is so important for him. He is, I would say, one of the favorites in the event for sure. And gangs, especially because we don't have Pragnananda play this time. We don't have Nihal. We don't have Gukesh. And these players are playing over the board Riga Open right now, so they're unable to participate. Now, that means that the field becomes even more open. And as we mentioned yesterday, it is all about winning the event so you can go on to face the big guys, the big league in the Champions Chess Tour. Do you think not having these players play, is that extra motivation, or is that added pressure on these favorites?
For the favorites, I think they'll be happy that, there are
less competition.
Less competition, obviously. I mean, the strongest players are not taking part, and where championship really matters. So I believe that should make them happy, actually.
So extra motivation here.
It is motivation, of course. Yeah.
That is amazing. And of course, it's super important how the players perform today. Every point counts. And I think for Vincent, at least on paper, playing white against Carissa, he knows that this is a point he needs to bring back. This is one of those points that he's going to do everything that he can to make sure that he gets a mess on the board. He's able to convert this because he is a favorite and right now half a point behind the leaders. But very often, gangs, when that happens in chess, it backfires. When you put additional pressure on yourself in a game to actually win, it can backfire, and that can be something that Carissa can take advantage of.
Totally. But I did not get the last move by black. I was hoping that, f5 you can play anytime. But if you play one move b6, imagine how much time it would take for white to get c5. You need to play bishop b4, you need to play a5. You cannot really create a breakthrough in queen side so easily. So this move surprises me a bit. I don't know if it is theory, because when you play f5, you are allowing c5 instantly. And just one move b6 would have stopped this c5 break for quite a long time. Again, I'm not 100% sure if Carissa is if she's prepared until this point. But f5 c5, it looks like there was no need to allow this. What can black do now? If f into e4 I take, maybe to take here, but then still the position is kind of getting opened up. And after this, I can even take, because there is always a pin happening. So in the game, we see c5, knight f6, f3, f4, and knight d2 happen. Now compare this exact same position with b6. Black would have anyway achieved all of this, while it would have taken a long time for white to get the c5 break. So currently, I think white will be much faster. Knight coming to c4, this other knight coming to b5. Before black could really create some counter, I believe the pawn on d6 will have huge issues.
Yeah, it does look like that. Even though Carissa has started the pawn march on the king side, but just a little slow to really break into it. And white coming in on that d6 weakness super fast. This one is going to be tough, because also if we see black can get one defender to d6, black can put knight on e8 and defend the d6 pawn, but that's just the knight and the queen. That's two defenders, while after knight b5, knight c4, white will have three attackers on d6, and that's going to be a tough one to save. I think at some point she is relying on a move like rook f6 to defend that pawn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's relying on rook f6. But given a choice, you would have played b6.
b6.
Most likely she underestimated this c5.
All right, so big pressure on Carissa currently playing with the black pieces against Vincent. We will come back to this game. Let's do our opening tour. I also see the big matchup between Lei and Sarah. Now, both these players are at 4.5 points. So a very important game for both of them. They're facing each other. What is going on here? My first feeling when I look at this, you know me, gangs. I always count the pawns. It's equal material, but I like the activity that white's bishops have. I love the move that she's just played, bishop b3, rerouting the bishop on this very important diagonal. It needs to be challenged with a move like bishop e6. You can't allow a white's bishop on b3 for far too long.
Yeah, this looks disaster for black, if you ask me, because even if you play bishop e6, there are multiple ways. I mean, at some point, my knight will come to d5. I can think about moves like take knight d5 or even direct knight d5. All white's pieces are good. And black's main problem in the position, there's just one thing to show, basically. Look at this bishop. It is just doing absolutely nothing. Actually, suddenly I'm thinking queen b3. Yeah, why not to play queen b3, attacking on b7, attacking on e6, rooks coming to d1, knight coming to d5. This position looks disaster to me.
A classic double attack with queen b3, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn. But probably queen b7 is what Sarah's really hoping for in this position. Because after that, at least black gets some activity with rook b8 and hitting that pawn on b2. So I like the idea of actually developing the rooks right now. I really think rook d1 is the move that white wants to make here.
Yeah, you start with rook d1 because black cannot play knight d6 because of knight g5. There is the pin there.
You pin and you win.
And exactly. And once you play knight d4, right, only now I take when you are missing rook b8. And if you take here trying to break my structure, it doesn't really help because suddenly queen is attacked, rook is attacked. So after rook fd1, I believe rook fd1, rook ad1, it's matter of taste. Probably I would have gone rook fd1. White looks winning to me. Why did this happen, by the way? Yeah, she played something very original, and it's interesting that she took with this pawn. It would have been more logical probably to take with d into e4. But yeah, she got to this position, and then her bishop never actually got activated at all. Now, this is a very tough position Sarah is having right now.
Very tough position. Lating here, thinking about whether to go rook d1. I really don't like capturing, getting greedy in this position, even though I do love my pawns. But capturing on b7 just feels like it's allowing a black counter chances. And why would you do that when you're already dominating the position? Very important point here, as you mentioned, that black's fan-chattered bishop on g7, it really wants that e5 pawn out of the way. It's basically a dead piece, and that is just one of the many problems in Sara's position right now. We will see how she fights back. We know she's a fighter. We will come back to this. For now, we can say that Leighton doing well out of the opening. Can we take a look at the Christopher Yu matchup? Christopher is currently one of the leaders along with Nodebek in the event. He is at 6 points. How is he doing with the black pieces?
Wow, they are playing some lines which are so unusual. What is this move, Queen b6? I actually do not recall anything about this one, just zero. Absolutely zero. No reference comes in mind at the moment. I mean, there must be games played, but nothing that comes in mind immediately. What would be a natural move? E5 is possible. E5 was played in the game, and then bishop c5. Very original play, yeah? What happened? A knight f4, probably queen a5. Bishop e3, knight d5, takes. Ready to play this particular position. Tania, do you recall anything like this? I'm pretty sure there must be games.
Yeah, but having this, I've not seen a pawn on d5. You want to play knight d5 after e5, but you often don't do that when you know you're going to get this d5, d7 pawn.
Yeah, exactly. And also what happens for knight f5, it's there are so many questions out there.
After knight f5?
Short castle, or you would like to take here first? Take also, you have to watch out if I can sacrifice. I don't know. I mean, short castle also, I'll be scared of for queen g4.
Queen g4, g6, God alone knows what's happening there.
I am pretty sure this must be some sort of, rapid preparation. I cannot imagine black playing this in a classical game.
It's interesting how we see that actually, not just in the Challengers chess tour, but also in Champions chess tour, where there are all these openings played, which if it was a classical time format, you would never see them happen over the board.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I cannot imagine this in a classical time control. Maybe there are games we can have a look, but I read them.
Very interesting.
So we got this position, and very strange, very strange pawn structure out there. At first glance, it looks like white is doing great, threatening knight c7. The bishop is dead. But black is also hitting on this pawn. So black has his own resources. And at this point, black's position doesn't look bad at all. The knight on e5 is such a solid outpost. I don't understand the move knight e7, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to take this bishop. I don't want to trade my knight for this bishop. But yeah, that's what happened in the game. I don't see black having any issues in this position, this particular position. I think black knight is so active, You can never get rid of this knight.
Very creative play by Christopher. Rook c8, rook left on c6, and then transferring it to g6. Let's just show the journey of the rook with some arrows here, because it really rook, and then it comes up and goes and hits the g2 pawn. This also feels, although of course white's bishop is not a dead piece, but the knight on e5 just feels stronger. You don't have a dark squared bishop to hit it. There is no pawn that's ever going to get to it. Black's weaknesses can't be really targeted by the white bishop. Can we in some ways say that black's pieces are just better than white's pieces in these positions?
Yeah, I mean, if I have to pick a color, I would definitely pick black at this point.
Regardless of the computer evaluation.
Regardless of the computer evaluation. I think also black's moves are easier to make somehow. Also, particularly in this time control, if you have knights, it's in this kind of position, it gets more tricky.
All right, let's quickly go to the game Leighton versus Sara, because I think do we already have a result in it? Can we just quickly jump to that and see what happened in the last couple of moves?
Rook fd1 was played. And what just happened there? Knight d6.
Oh, did she miss knight g5? Your idea? Pin and win.
No, sorry. Rook a d1 was played. Queen c8 happened. Then knight came to d5, and after b6, knight into c7, attacking both the rooks. Here, Sarah resign. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. So queen takes c7, then queen takes e6, and after bc5, there is this move rook d7.
Wow.
Wins the game. On the
Very
spot.
nice.
Wait a second. Why not knight cd8? Because there is queen e8. Check and take. Yeah. Or queen f7. Yeah. Either way, it's lost.
So that's a really nice crushing game by White, really. So with that, Leighton beats Sarah Kadam. That's the first result of our first game. Let's take a look at how Vincent is doing against Carissa. Carissa looked like she was in big trouble as well, and I think the troubles continue.
Yeah, so we got more or less this correct, that yeah, rook c1, knight c4, as we expected. Rook f6 happened, takes a5, aiming for knight to b6, rook a6, knight b6, going anyway, going for the c8 bishop. And look at this, at this moment, she decides to give her rook.
But this is not going to be enough. Because
Yeah.
take a look at that bishop on g7 behind the pawn chain. I mean, this is a bishop you need on e3 or d4 on this diagonal, not on g7. The rook on f6 has not much of a future. Black's only hope is to try and get g4 at some point, but even that, very hard to get. It looks like White has extra material and all the compensation in the position.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like to point out that in King's Indian, the typical attacking motif is, you get g3, and when you play g3, if White plays h3, this bishop is extremely important in King's Indian, because often you want to sack. Otherwise, after g3, h3 is a complete deadlock. So in many cases, White goes ruthlessly for this bishop, and this is what we see here. Immediately, Vincent is going to change this bishop, because he knows once this bishop is off, there is never going to be any attack. After g3, he'll just move the rook before, and g3, h3 will be a complete deadlock, while White will invade through queenside.
That's a very nice understanding that Vincent shows, trying to get rid of the only piece that can cause trouble.
Exactly.
And look at this. He just places all his pieces on the queen side. There's not a single piece on the king side. All of Vincent's army breaking through on the queen side. G4 comes in, but it's too little, too late.
Yeah, this is literally any move will win here. I cannot imagine anything happening on the queen side when anything happening on the king side when your pieces are, so badly pinned.
Can you actually just ignore everything? Can you ignore the king side and just move the knight away and pile up the pressure on c7? Or can that
There are few things, yeah, I like bishop f1 actually, because there are few things that had to be taken care. For example, if you make a move like rook c1, suddenly after takes, let's say knight coming to h4, queen coming to g5, bishop coming to h3. You know how this King's Indian can, King's Indian attack can
turn ugly.
Yeah, turn ugly. Suddenly, Black could sacrifice the knight on c7 and go full-fledgedly on the king side. So instead, bishop f1 is once again Peter Leko kind of chess. I must say that, you take care, you do this safety first. Bishop f1, why I really like, it takes away the very important square for this bishop. So now after takes, you can get knight h4, but hey, you cannot get your bishop to h3. I have taken a very important square from this bishop, and I have protected another important square, g2, so that, my king is kind of safe. I like the move bishop f1 from a human point of view.
Yeah, and maybe in that position, if f3 is taken, gf3, knight h4, White could also perhaps consider just coming up with the king to f2, defending this pawn, because bishop f1 controls the squares on the king side and also vacates the b5 square for his own knight to jump in, to put pressure on c7 and actually win that knight.
Well, king f2, I'll be slightly nervous with moves like knight f3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who knows, yeah, bishop g4. You have to suddenly start calculating, yeah, like
that's kamikaze mode.
Yeah, king suddenly came too far, yeah. So who knows what might happen?
Who knows? That's amazing.
Yeah, but some other move, even rook f2 or practically anything else should do. Your king is not doing so bad on h1.
But Carissa chooses the move g3, and that just feels that after h3, how is Black ever going to do anything in this position now?
Yeah, by the way, I just realized that after gf3, probably a much stronger move would have been just play knight b5 and take this guy, no?
Immediately.
Yeah, that would just, that would be Probably this is what he was intending. But yeah, G3, I don't know how the attack is going to build up after H3, because the only way to do something will be to take on H3. But that's not happening.
It's not happening. Queen F8 steps away from the pin, but that doesn't solve any problems for black. I think we can call this a Vincent win. Shouldn't have trouble converting it. Do you want to take a look at another very important game? Gangs, let's quickly jump over to Nordebek.
Yeah. Tania, can you help me to understand what is the material situation here?
Well, right now Black has a rook. Wait,
and
what?
A pawn. Yeah, exactly. Black has a rook.
Black has a rook and 2 pawns up, 1 pawn up.
Wait, and things keeps. Okay, now what is this? Now it is black has
1 piece and a pawn.
For a queen.
Oh, where's the queen?
Should I give an evaluation here? Is it needed?
I completed, in my head, that queen was actually a pawn on A2.
Oh, this is just dead loss. But how did this happen?
White had an extra queen. White has an extra queen in this position.
Exactly. I want to see what happened to this queen. Okay. Already here I like White's position. This knight will be chased away. I don't see any tactics happening. Looks like she outplayed Nordebek.
Completely, right? How did he lose the queen though?
I mean, the position is it looks like black was constantly struggling. Oh, by the way, I can already feel that this queen on A2 never moved once it went here. And look, now she did not take here. A queen B6 was the first blunder, I guess. Bishop A5.
No, but after queen A7, at least there would be rook D6. So bishop A5 is...
True. Bishop A5 is very strong, absolutely. Very professional, taking one more tempo before taking on D8. At this point, Nordebek realized that, I can play queen H5, but essentially after this, there are 100 moves. Maybe queen A5 would just win on the spot, hitting here. And then this pawn will probably queen at some point. So he took his chance.
In that position, knight E5 is nothing. You just, after queen H5, let's just say bishop D8, but you don't have time because you just come back bishop H4 or something.
Yeah. That's true. So in the game, rook D6 happened and rook takes C5. Takes knight E1. No, this is just dead lost. And you give a queen, and then if you have to play a move like A6, something has gone horribly wrong. And it just doesn't end there. Then bishop H3, hitting on both G4 and D1. And
I'm surprised Nordebek is continuing this game. I'm genuinely surprised because now we can look at the position and analyze and take stock of material. It's easier. He has a queen. He's down a queen for just a minor piece and a pawn.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably some sort of inertia. You don't want to resign immediately. I mean, deep inside, he knows it's just dead lost. He'll move the knight somewhere and
rook C8 just finished the game. And if you go rook E8, there's rook to E7 finishing the game. Knight F5. Yeah, this is going to
happen without any thinking, and just take on F8. And I think at this point, the game still goes on. Actually, I'm very, very surprised.
I'm shocked actually that Nordebek decides to continue this. I don't know what is the hope that he has in this position. At some point, the A6 pawn, just G4 is coming in, picking up the H7 pawn. The A6 pawn is attacked.
No, this is dead lost. Queen is a queen.
Queen is a queen is a queen.
Yeah,
as they say. All right, let's move on from this one because the more I look at it, the more painful this position gets for black. Let's take a look at a Wonder's game. A Wonder against Baer.
All right, they're playing in second, so probably we can just focus on the current position. Such a dynamic position. Strategically, I would say if White can push the pawn, White will be fine. But practically and also objectively, I would probably take Black here because I feel somehow Black's move could be easier. If Black gets F4, the game will be instantly over. I mean, F4, F3 would be complete disaster. Oh, she allows F4. sorry, he allows f4. Why? Because he wants to play rook d5.
F4, can't you directly go for d7? Or it
You
doesn't
could-
get you anything. E3 was played, so E3 was
Yeah,
played,
now-
rook E2
And now f4. I mean,
on the board. So F3 is a massive threat now. F3 hits the rook as well as the pawn.
probably queen to b7 maybe, just to make
But
sure.
let's point out, gangs, that F3 can be played actually. F3 can be played next.
Yeah, f3. The point is, if you play queen takes e3, I can actually play f into e2 when you cannot hit the queen because I queen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. D7 on the board. Is F3 completely crazy now? Can we just take a look? It looks like it shouldn't work, but does it? How do you refute F3?
No, f3 problem is I queen, and then you cannot do rook d1 because suddenly it is pinned. So
Okay,
you
so
have to-
rook c8.
But now maybe queen b7 at this point.
Queen b7, that's a good move. Okay, so that didn't happen. Let's keep up with the live board. So f3 was not possible. Black keeping up the sanity with rook a8, hitting the queen. Queen b7, a nice square stopping f3, and now queen h5. So still making threats. Rook on e2 attacked. If you play queen b5, then black will, without blinking, make the move f3, no? Oh, queen b5 without blinking again.
Yeah. So here I don't know. Once again I would prefer to play as black here. Although objectively I don't think white is doing worse. White is not doing bad yet. But how do I play? Should I play queen f3 or rook e1? So
rook e1.
I'm allowing rook takes a2 because you see, I really like the knight on f7. This is my favorite piece at this point. It is taking care of rook, the rook on d8. I'm surprised that rook takes a2 did not happen because there was nothing going on.
Maybe it's bishop f4 and then
bishop f4 was the issue. That's why queen g5 was on the board.
I like queen g5 because f3 is just
queen f5 was on the board.
And queen f3 played, and now g5. So black really going for it. But is this a blunder? Rook e3, I see that. And now queen c5. Who blundered? Who blundered? It looks like it's a wonder who blundered. And that kind of rhymed.
No, then bishop into f4. And that's what happens in the game.
Yeah, but he has to give up the bishop, no? I don't know if that was part of the plan or was that an oversight?
Well, I like white right now. I mean, the king is so exposed. All you need is just move the king and play rook g3.
Okay, that is scary. Rook g3 is a scary thing, but it's black's move. Does black have time to do something? Rook a6, that's a nice rook lift, but rook e8 will be a massive threat after king h1.
Well, rook e8, I can probably still survive with king g7. Should I start with king g7? Oh, queen c2.
Queen c2 hitting that rook on d1.
Queen c2 feels so wrong. I mean,
and now
maybe check. And then rook coming to
king
f1.
g7 and rook f1, rook d7, rook d7.
Hang on.
Oh, queen g4 then. Then there'll be queen g4 hitting the rook.
Yeah. Queen g4 and queen d7. That's true.
Queen g4, so rook g6. That would be a crazy position, no? But we'll come back to it. Let's stick to the live board. Wow.
Okay, this resigns. This is resigns.
That is actually amazingly played by a wonder after giving up that bishop on f4, and that's it. This is no hope for black.
Yeah, you just take on f7 if you get a chance. So what was this? At this point, yeah, you are right. Actually, rook f1 would have been
rook d7, and we're thinking queen g4 check, winning the rook, but there's rook g6 and there's mate on g2.
Yeah. So at this point, no,
maybe this is fine for black.
Yeah. Yeah, rook f4 would have spoiled it. Queen d4 was played.
And that's a nice move because after rook f6, you can't avoid this pin.
That's true. Maybe king g6. But who knows?
Who knows? But that was very intense last couple of moves. You still got some live action. So let's see what's going on in the Balaji versus Volodor game. Both very aggressive players. Balaji Dagupati, a debutant at the Challengers Chess Tour, and he's definitely had his moments. Some very good play there, but this one looks like it's not going to survive for black.
Yeah, this is just a dead loss because you at some point you just start pushing the pawn. Maybe just play rook b5 or f5. Doesn't rook b5 on the board, making sure there's no rook a5 and f5, f4, 2 pawns up. Nothing really to analyze at this point.
Well, there
Are
is a
there-
very similar ending on the other only live board. Let's go to that one. That's more interesting. Sokolovsky against Christopher Yu, 3 versus 2. So here, does white hold this?
I would say yes. Without much difficulty, this should be a draw. Yeah, I almost don't see how.
Just don't
I'm-
trade the rooks.
I mean, I was actually currently thinking, can I trade the rooks? Probably I cannot. I don't know.
King e5, king f2, king f5, king f3. You go g4 and king g5?
Yeah, or even this, yeah.
And this is
This looks like a draw for me.
fortress? Now this
Is
might
it?
be, no? And maybe he gets the king from the other side in that endgame. This is a very interesting king pawn endgame. Gangs, let's discuss this after. Let's stick
Yeah.
with our live board. The players are playing on seconds right now.
Yeah, I would never change rooks if I'm not 100% sure. So, and right now there is just no need to do anything. Just skip staying. At some point black will play f3. You take rook takes and still it's a draw. Oh, these checks are good. You provoke the king and you play a move rook a5 at some point. Yeah, king came page 5 and play rook a5. This game will go for a long time. Chat, what do you think? What will be the result of this game? Will it be a win or a draw?
Interesting. So do you think that Christopher will manage to convert this? He does need a bit of a miracle, especially now with the rook on f6. He has to go g4 at some point. Will Christopher be able to convert this chart, or will Sokolovsky hold this position with the white pieces? Tell us, who do you believe in?
I think this will be a draw. I don't see any ways to improve.
Meanwhile, Murzin just giving a masterclass with those 3 extra pawns. Let's quickly shift to that because this one, like you mentioned, is going to go on for a while. That one is about to end any second.
Sorry, which one?
The Murzin versus the Volodya versus Daggupati game, Balaji.
Yeah, okay, this is over. Unless you run into some stalemate tactic, which I cannot see. I mean, just play g2 and play rook f1 no matter
And
what.
trade your rook.
Yeah. I think right at this moment, white will resign.
Black one g2, black one g2. So the most,
without
would you call this the professional way to play?
Absolutely, I would play rook f1 without thinking. My
go e2, king e1, e3.
e2, king e1, king g2 will be my choice.
Not king e3 in that position.
But he is going very professional. He's just going to mate.
Yeah, but if white had rook g4 check in this position, even then it wouldn't work because of king g4.
That's true, yeah. Now e2 and rook f1. Oh, he doesn't even want that. So he could play rook a2 also, by the way. Rook takes a2 and then f2 will be checkmate. But even this is suffice. This will
And
suffice.
with that, Daggupati has had enough of these pawns. Balaji resigns and Volodya takes the point. Let's go back to our other game. Is there progress for black?
All right. Meanwhile, yeah, 84% says this will be a draw. 80%.
Grandmaster Rustamov. Welcome, Grandmaster Rustamov in chat. He's saying draw, of course.
Yeah. Does look like a draw, but I'm super curious about that king pawn endgame though.
Yeah, maybe we can have a look at this. We've got the live board with us and we know that this is headed in that direction. Do you want to take a look at that rook pawn endgame? Because it was super instructive that moment.
Yeah, sure. So we were saying takes, at this point, if white could take and play king e2, I'm perfectly aware I would not do this in a tournament game because I will just say,
Gangs, let's ask chat. Chat, would you trade in this position or would you not trade in this position in a tournament situation? And also I want to ask Grandmaster Rustamov, we haven't calculated this yet. We are going to, but what is your judgment here? Do you think that this is a draw? Does white hold this endgame? Let's take a look.
One thing I can say is if it is white to move, I think it's just over. But right now, after king e5, okay, I want to play king e1, maintaining the opposition. If you play this, I have this. The position that could be lost is at this moment.
What about king d4? What about king d4?
I'm playing king d2.
And can I go g4 now?
Maybe you go king c4.
But king c4, you come back king e2, na?
Yeah, that's true.
Can we
So
try
maybe
g4
here
here?
G4 and take f3, yeah? But take...
Let's just show that 1 second. Can we just show that idea?
Yeah, take f3.
And the king is just not coming back in time to stop the h4 pawn.
But g4, if I play king e2, but now you get your position. Yeah.
And king e4, and this is winning, no? Because king g3 will come in.
You do this triangulation.
So what is chat saying?
But wait, king d4, I have king f3.
Take the rooks off the board and it's a guaranteed win for black. I would be terrified to trade rooks here.
No, that I also agree. I will also not trade the rooks, but I'm asking, what is it? What is the position? Because king d4, I can play king f2.
Now, YouTube is more inclined towards no, and Twitch chat is feeling a lot more brave, and Twitch chat is for, yeah, just trade the rooks and go for it. They have the more, it's not our game, we don't care attitude.
Honestly speaking, I cannot give an answer instantly.
Grandmaster Ristamov is mentioning that he would never exchange rooks because pawn endgame could be lost. With rooks, it's just much easier. So it's a more practical way to play the game.
That's for sure. This I do not doubt at all. My only concern was, how is this endgame? I mean, to me, it looks like a draw. Looks like black cannot make a progress here. At best, right? As we saw, at best, black could take the... Black can get a position like, g4 takes, get a position like this. But again, I don't see how it is winning. I'm just waiting constantly. Probably.
And chat, we can see the live board on the right, bottom right of the screen. We can still see the dance is still on. No progress made. So we will stick to this analysis.
Yeah, very curious. And I really like, Tania, your tricky idea of playing king to d4.
So what was the defense here for white?
So I was going just king f3, suddenly giving threats to, start taking the pawn. And there is no time to play king d3 because I go king g4, and after king e2, king g5, I'm right on time to attack the f4 pawn, which forces black to go back. I can, I can probably even do this. Because actually, even if you get this opposition, still I have king f2.
And g4 you take?
Yeah.
And king g3 you allow?
Thinking, even if I allow this, what changes?
Wow, might be a draw, but definitely, as we're pointing out, chat, do not try this at home. This is for educational purposes. You never trade rooks in those positions.
Yeah.
Well, you can try this at home. Don't try this in an actual game.
Exactly. Now, how do I get to the live board?
I think auto update. If you just unclick and click auto update.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up and see how this position happened, because there's a structural change.
Yeah, at some point, black kind of decided to play f3. Actually, f3 or g4, this was the only way to break. This was a smart move, yeah. But even here, yeah, this was the trick that black was counting on. But of course, g takes f3 and f4, and this is a dead draw. I mean, probably the easiest would be to play, yeah, just take hg4 and now change the rook. This is ending in a draw.
And that's about it. The players just finishing this up. And this is our last game remaining. And with that, that's it. A king on the board. That ends in a draw. Let's take a look at the scores that we've had in game 1, round 9 of the Kramnik Challenge. Once again, lots of decisive games with Vincent, Voloda, Zhuzhina. This is a big upset, really. Nordebek, a favorite in this tournament, leading the event, goes down to Zhuzhina in round 1. Leitinge, A Wonder, all winning their games. Leon Mendoka, Maurizi ended in a draw. Paulina Dinara was a draw. And Christopher Sokolovsky, the last game, the marathon game that we just saw, ends in a draw as well. Let's bring up our pairings for round 10.
Do you think there will be a single game in Berlin Queen D4, Queen E4 in this tournament?
Have you seen these guys, gangs? Have you seen the way they play? Have you seen the amount of decisive games we've got? The answer is a big fat no. And thank God for that. All right, and this is the action that's coming up, chat. Carissa takes on Christopher. Paulina takes on Yali. Jonas against Dinara. Maurizi against A Wonder. And Sarah Kadim, Leon Mendoca. Now, Sarah had a tough game. She had a tough start to the day, so she needs to get out of it. She needs to not think about that because that was a tough, crushing loss. Nordebeg against Leitinge, and Volodar takes in Jujena, while Vincent is up against Balaji. Which game are you most excited about, gangs?
Actually, only 2 games, yeah. The Sarah Kadim versus Leon and Paulina versus Yali, because only here Team Polgar versus Team Kramnik is happening. Otherwise, they're playing against each other. So I'm joking, of course. I'll be keeping an eye on all the games. And
look at gangs being just brutally honest, then just doing some damage control with diplomacy. I love it. Okay, by the way, you'll be really happy to know that Team Polgar has actually increased their lead, and now they have a 6-point lead over Team Kramnik. 39 to Team Polgar, 33 to Team Kramnik. Not just that, both players on first place and second place are from your team.
Yeah, that is very good to see. And Avanda actually played a great game, right? We saw.
Yeah, and that finish with that rook on f6, just doubling up on the pin over there. Very nice finish. Actually, some really nice games. I think we've got just a couple of minutes before liftoff. And of course, let's not forget that this tournament, we've got these amazing mentors training these participants and these big talents from across the world. And our premium members actually have the access. They will get access to these training videos and actually see how these super strong youngsters learn from the best in the world. And I know that there is a free lesson today, and it is the gift of the day by Arthur Kogan, and it's for everyone. So check that out. It is Learn from the Legends. Well, what better way to learn than from the legends themselves? And definitely check out this video by Arthur. Gangs, you know, we've had world champions. We've had so many strong players across the history of the game. But I feel legends is a different level. You know, there are world champions and then there are legends. According to you, if you had to pick, let's say, I give you 2, not just 1, but you had to name 2 legends of chess, who would they be?
Do I also have to mention the famous legends or just legends?
Just your legends according to you. But generally, legends are famous, right?
Yeah. Fischer.
Okay.
I have to only pick 2, yeah?
Yeah, I was thinking of giving you 3, but then I was feeling less generous, so I gave you 2.
Okay, then in that case, I'll pick Fischer and Kasparov.
Fischer and Gary.
Yeah, I wanted to exclude players, those who are still playing. So then it becomes a little bit easier. So I'm picking from players who are not playing anymore. And in that case, if I have to pick only 2, I would pick Fischer and Kasparov.
I see in chat, Randy actually agrees with your answer. I want to know from chat. I want to hear it from Twitch as well as on Chess24, as well as on YouTube. Who do you guys, and you guys just get one pick. Who, according to you, is
that's not fair. One pick is not fair.
Okay, how many do you want to give them?
Okay, no, for chat, I'll give only 1. Let's see.
Chat gets 1 pick. That's very interesting what you say, gangs. Also, because I think when we talk about legend level, you talk about longevity. You talk about a story that goes beyond chess. You talk about the impact that the person has that's beyond the board as well. And all these things come together. And I think in that way, completely resonate with what you said about Fischer having that aura, that atmosphere.
That aura. Exactly, that aura.
Yeah. And same with Gary.
Yeah. Absolutely. They also they did some sort of revolution, right? Like the game changed completely, the conditions changed, the approach changed, everything literally.
Yeah, they had this sort of a transformative impact on chess.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I also wanted to talk about Arthur. You know, the gift of the day. Arthur Kogan is a very experienced trainer, an amazing trainer, a great personality. He trained actually many strong players, not just one. He has got many strong students. So do watch out his video. He has got a very unique style of teaching. So viewers will learn a lot. Go premium and check these videos, which are available, and then you get an idea how this youngsters are training under experienced trainer.
Very nice. And this one is actually a free gift of the day. So do not leave this one. Definitely check out, learn from the legends, and very interesting answers on Twitch about who they consider legends are. Akiba Rubinstein, and that is true. I think he had a very, very unique style of play. I think for me, whatever I've studied of classics, gang, he was the one who brought in this concept of having a plan and seeing through it.
Strategy, a long-term strategy, yeah.
A long-term strategy. And Nimzowitsch is being mentioned, Capablanca is being mentioned, Morphy is being mentioned. So very interesting legends named by Twitch. And we have got Liftoff. Well, these might be the legends of, well, not tomorrow, but let's say 100 years from now. Let's take a look at the action that we have first. Can we bring up the pairings one time on our screen while Gangs brings up the games? This is what we've got coming up. And as mentioned, only on 2 boards, we've got a fight between Team Polgar and Team Kramnik as Sarah takes on Leon and Polina takes on Sokolovsky. Otherwise, it is a fight between teams, but very important game for that individual first prize to go into the Champions Chess Tour. Let's take a look at what the openings are. So do you want to, let's start with this one. Maurizi versus A1. Now, both these players, prodigies in their own way. Maurizi is the youngest grandmaster from France. So in French history, he is the youngest grandmaster. A1 as well has set so many records. I think he is the youngest chess master from the United States. He beat his first grandmaster, I think, when he was just 10 years old. So some crazy records by both these players. What is going on in their game?
Wow. The move H4 is very trendy. It has been recommended. It has been played recently very heavily on. Once again, my friend Seturaman made a post in Chessable. He also recommends the move H4. The move A6 is so rare. I mean, I remember briefly there was some game by Vityukov probably, but I don't remember that many games. Probably Daniel Yufa was playing this a lot. It would be actually hard to explain why the move A6 has been played. Most likely, Black does not want to commit with anything like H6 or H5 and saying, if you play G4, I can go back. I'm getting ready to play C5 if needed. And after the move Knight C3, now H5 has been played. This has to be some sort of preparation. I have no doubt on this, but it's not that common currently. That's all I can say. I get some confirmation that yes, Vityukov did play this particular line. Yeah, A6 is such. I'm pretty sure in the course Chessable course Setu would have mentioned the move A6 as well.
It's really amazing how different modern chess is to all these conventional ideas that we learn. Black just, it's all about development, right? We're taught as general principles when we learn chess: develop your pieces, don't move the same piece twice in the opening. And look at what Black has done. He's moved all his pawns. The only piece that's out, he's moved it twice already, bishop F5 to bishop G6. And I think this is the direct impact. It can be brought down to one point, and that is just how engines have changed the game of chess.
Yeah, I mean, what will happen if next 3 moves we see rook h7, knight d7, and queen c8? At some point, I might feel, I'm playing checkers. Yeah, Black is kind of saying, I'm giving you everything, but show me the break. White would love to get the pawn on f5, but that's not happening that easily. Because the moment you play moves like f5, that is knight h6, again gaining control on the f5 square. See, White can play bishop e2. And I'm pretty sure this has to be some preparation, because after bishop e2, I'm just taking the pawn and you can do nothing about it, literally. What are you going to do after bishop e2? knight e2 was played. I also like the move knight e2, bringing the knight to f4, making sure after c5 there will be c3.
I like that move. It also hits the bishop on g6 and the h5 pawn. So immediately, at least these kind of moves, put some normalcy in chess, that if black plays like this, white has a way of going directly and trying to take advantage of it. So knight e2, knight f4, bishop e2 coming next. How is black going to actually fight this? Does black go bishop e7 and also hits the h4 pawn?
Probably. I mean, this has to be some sort of concrete preparation. If you just ask me, whom would I prefer at this point? I would say, yeah, white, definitely. He has more space. I don't see any obvious advantage of having the pawn on a6. And knight f4 is happening. Probably we will see bishop e7. But even after bishop e7, for example, I go knight f4, you take here, I take on h5. I'm hitting on g7.
You'd have to make a move like king f8 here.
Yeah, I'm not at all happy with this.
Yeah, it looks very shaky. Take and queen f3 check, and maybe it's time to pack bags already.
Yeah, also there is knight f4 no, so this is definitely not what black is intending. C5 on the board. This c5 move I like more. Because
knight f4 immediately doesn't wait, goes knight f4, so doesn't even wait for c3. Black just can't allow this knight g6 fg6 stuff, creating those weaknesses.
Sure.
So knight e7 played,
and black is counting on breaking the center with c takes d4. So maybe c3 just here. So shall we check some other games?
Let's take a look. I've got my eye out on all the boards, and I want to bring you to the position that is catching my attention, which is Volodar versus Zhu Jina. Now, Zhu Jina had a massive result in the previous round, and she beat Nodebek. So definitely a great start in the start of the day for Zhu. And look at this. I think we have to back up and take this one from the top.
Yeah, so some sort of Rosolimo. And yeah, queen e2 b3, we have seen this also number of times. I remember there were many games, not many games, at least this idea with knight e5 is not that uncommon, at least. So takes. Black is kind of saying, I got a double pawn, but I also got a very nice square on d4. Given a chance, of course, black would try to get the knight to d4 via something like this, if time permits. But of course, white will not allow that. White breaks instantly with f4. And black takes. Black says, if you give me time, I'll change the bishop. And end of the day, the square d4 is weak. So white makes the most aggressive move in the position, taking the pawn on g7. Definitely, black is not going to castle. Black is trying to play on this half-open file. From a practical point of view, I like black here. I can go long castle. After a move like knight c3, I might consider playing a6, stopping knight b5, or even go long castle. White is not allowing me to do long.
You have to go all the way to a8 with your king.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that. And after
you're not the first one to struggle with this bit.
Oh, I wouldn't have figured out. I started to check. I mean, I realized that black king did not move, but since computer was not allowing, I kept on checking the notation. I didn't move my king. I mean, did the rule change that if I move my h8 rook, I cannot do long castle?
Or are we doing the no castling chess by Kramnik, because it is the Kramnik challenge?
Yeah. So queen c7 on the board. Objectively, I would say position is even, but I prefer black because black do not have any issues in the position. So black should be happy with the outcome of the opening.
Very interesting.
And look at this. I mean, to open up the queen side, it will take more time. So once black does long castle, it would take more time to open up files. While on the king side, black has already managed to open a file.
Yeah, that's actually an easy way to look at this, that while black has in some ways already started the pressure on white's king, black's king, once it goes long castle, will not. White still needs a lot of time to actually build pressure on it. So I think we can say that black, Zhu, once again, should have reasons to be pleased with her position out of the opening. Volada, a big task ahead of him. And of course, he's looking to get this point home, but it's not going to be an easy one. Zhu, very confident after her previous round win and looking good in this one with the black pieces. Can we take a look at Vincent?
Tania, I got another position
Let's do
on
it.
the board.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I could not resist. I mean, I just saw this position. I thought, okay, I have to click here. What is going on here? So I see a bishop on K2, which is of a different color. I mean, normally I would expect this to be a white color bishop, but it's a different color bishop, and the B7 queen is hanging right now.
The B7 queen is hanging right now, and you've got queen F3, but then there's bishop E2. Maybe is that something that white can rely on after queen F3? Because let's just show what happens if you move the rook away. For example, if you move the rook up from F1 away, suddenly the attack might be just too strong. You've got bishop H3, and after bishop F1, I think
still
black...
goes on.
Sorry?
I mean, the game still goes on. I don't see anything obvious happening here. But you were right. After queen F3, why not to play bishop F1, hitting the queen instantly?
Queen F3 on the board, and now black will have to play queen to D5.
Or queen to C6.
Queen C6 as well. But queen C6, maybe rook FC1?
Yeah, the position looks equal to me because, okay, even the end game, why it should be... I mean, if I'm not...
But queen D5, you hit the bishop on A5 and the rook on F1 doesn't. Could that give black something maybe?
Well, there is rook B5. You go...
Oh, wow. By the way, bishop E2 on the board. It's going to be interesting to see what happens after, whether queen D5 is chosen or queen C6. Queen D5, rook B5. So really keeping up that pressure on the queen.
No, actually, yeah, queen D5, I would rather play queen C6 because queen D5, even if I make a move like rook FD1, you take, I take. I'm actually not sure because this king is not that poor. I mean, I'll play bishop F3, knight F5. Normal position, I think.
So bishop E2. So you think queen C6 offering the queen trade here would be a wise decision from black?
I'm thinking, yeah, not 100% sure. Actually, both the moves looks pretty decent to me. Here, to get a position like this, I'll not be that scared here as black. I'm trading the rooks. If you play knight F5, I have bishop F8. Black does not have any pawn weaknesses in the board. So this looks pretty decent to me.
And wow.
Chat, what would you play? Queen D5 or queen C6? You have to type very quickly because they're moving so fast.
Queen C6 on the board. Queen C6 on the board. We have the answer. All right, this is going to be a slow strategic fight. We'll come back to this, but massive turnaround in the Maurizi, a wonder game. We were thinking that black could potentially be in a lot of trouble with the way the opening has gone, but take a look at what has happened. A complete turnaround.
Yeah, so took the bishop. I actually really wanted to play C3 at any given moment. I don't like to give the central pawn so easily. What is going on? A sacrifice. This is just a... Is this a blunder or... Oh, this was just a blunder. Because after knight e5, you have to take. And no matter how you play, how you block the check, rook into h5 is happening. So that was a straightforward blunder. After queen c7, knight e5 was a direct threat, which white completely missed. I mean, a move like, I don't know, something like queen e2 would simply stop this threat at least. Here, yeah, this looks completely disaster because look at the center. I mean, black has like 3 extra pawns right there. Yeah, this is going to be very tough. Sooner or later, e5 and e4 both are coming. Wow. So, by the way, we never saw Vincent game, right? Or did we? No, we never.
This looks like bad news for white. Let's jump over to the Vincent game. Wow, and this looks like good news for Vincent.
this knight, I'm just looking at this knight and I feel bad about this knight. While this knight on b5, and I really like, sometimes I really like Vincent's simplistic approach. So just as I was mentioning that this knight is very strong and the a6 knight is very strong. Now the most active piece that black has is the e4 knight, and Vincent immediately addressed that. You have this active piece, so I want to get rid of that. And once the knight from e4 is gone, you are left with all back pieces out there. So I really...
This is amazing. This is amazing because you really see the domination that this knight on b5 and how that knight on a6 is a dead piece. And what Vincent is going to do is give a masterclass on how to play against a piece here. He's just never going to allow black's knight to go to c7, e6, come into the game. As you're mentioning, trading off the active pieces so that he's only left with this dead knight. Starts with the move knight d2. We've pointed out all the good stuff about Vincent's position. Is there any way that Balaji can actually fight this and somehow get that knight back into the game? I don't know. Ideas like right now there's a problem with the knight on e4, but just to mention an idea, queen b8, queen b7, knight b8, trying to get that knight to c6. Is there any hope for that to work out? Gangs, can we check a line? Knight takes d2 here, trying to trade off this knight.
Okay, so
queen d2. And I really want to get my knight from b8 to c6. But the problem is, right, queen b7, queen c2, I'm not sure what's going on here.
Or I can even, if queen I don't want to, I can just play queen f4 and say, this knight is never going to come.
And f6 here?
And I would also like to point out, look, I mean, even if you get your queen to c6, there is no squares available.
But here can black go f6?
Yeah, f6, but then again, it weakens your king.
Yeah, the troubles don't stop. And if bishop d6, queen d6, this is looking very scary for black now. Queen d8 coming in, the h7 pawn is weak.
Yeah. I'm curious how this actually happened. So, yeah, some e3, b3 line. Yeah, a3. This is a star move, yeah? A simple move that actually takes care of this knight on a6. A very positional, subtle way to play. And also a3 prepares d4 because the pawn on a3 is such a strong pawn. It not only kills the knight, but also makes sure that, if you take ed4, you do not have any kind of annoying bishop b4 check. So I really want to emphasize on this move a3, preparing d4 and killing the knight on a6. And bishop d3, all this move white is able to play thanks to the pawn on a3 because once again there is no bishop b4 check.
All right, Balaji goes for f6 directly. I think he needs to get rid of that bishop from e5, trying to somehow neutralize the pressure, but it looks like it weakens black's position a lot.
The king. Now the king is also becomes an issue, and this knight does not have a square. Every single square is taken. Every single square is taken.
G5. This looks like desperate times call for desperate measures kind of a move, no?
Yeah. You mean, like take away this knight from this position, put it somewhere else. Then not only this problem is solved, but you can also kick the annoying piece on b5 by playing a6. So that's also not happening. So yeah, g5 is like literally getting desperate right now.
Well, at least one thing is that if you go bishop g3, then black will take knight g3 and come back knight b8, knight c6. So just to give a little breathing space. So at least I think maybe it's still bad. Maybe it's still bad, but it's something for black to feel better about.
It's very true. This is very true because queen h5 doesn't, you can simply ignore. Everything is protected. a6 is happening. No, this I really like. And if I look at this position, okay, also, yeah, black definitely would love to get a position like this from the current position. So I would expect something else apart from bishop g3.
Can he take on e4? Does he have time to take on e4?
Can I take on e4? This is my question.
Oh, wow. With this piece, because I thought you can take d takes on. You want to take queen e4. And you're saying you're going to...
want to take queen e4 because yeah, this should be a mate. Yeah, this is definitely a...
Bishop c4 now, yeah? Bishop or bishop g6. Yeah, bishop c4 is just game over. Multiple mates, queen f7 and queen h8 ideas there.
But there is f5, we have to calculate. F5 I have queen e5 because again there is a mate happening on the board.
Wow.
So, by the way, knight e4 on the board.
Knight e4 on the board, and now two options: d takes e4, which you definitely want to play if you're not getting mated, because that. But there's also bishop c4 as a bailout always.
Yeah, but queen e4 is just like, it looks like a mate to me.
Yeah, looks very scary. So what happens if after knight e4, black decides to take the bishop on f4? Because I still want to try and come back with my knight to b8. You just simply fall back with your knight to maybe to c3, threatening knight d5, queen d5, bishop c4 ideas.
I would, but since it is not my game, I would like to start
f4 on the board.
I would like to start calculation with queen h5 if I can do something like this, but probably not. I mean,
also,
you have
like, queen d8, nice.
Yeah. So
maybe queen, queen d8 might be the only move in that position, actually.
Yeah. No, knight coming back.
I like knight c3 because you have two threats, right? You're threatening knight d5 with the idea of bishop c4 and attacking that bishop on e7 as well.
Yeah. Knight c7 on the board.
But wait, doesn't this just give up a pawn?
Well, he is counting on queen c1
activity.
Check and
queen a3 maybe directly?
Queen a3 only way. But even here I can take. You cannot take because of bishop c4.
Oh, nice.
And sooner or later this king will be weak.
Goes for queen h5. So still keeping these threats. Actually, that's a very strong move, gangs, because queen h5 hits on h7, also doubles up the pressure on d5. So now he just wants to go, for example, after bishop f8. Maybe there are other moves, but the simplest, you can take on c7 and give a check on d5.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, queen h5 is the most simplest way to win the game.
Vincent has this amazing positional understanding and ability to make these slow moves, which at first sight don't look dangerous, but they have so much poison in them. You know, while you're trying to find these direct lines, he just keeps all the threats on the board and keeps building the pressure till his opponent collapses. And that reminds me of someone's style of play.
I wonder who it is. Yeah,
tell us, who do you think it is?
It has to be Peter Leko, yeah. No, I also like that he kept the queen, because there was also another option, you know, to trade queens, take the knight, take the knight and then take the pawn and then pick up one of these pawns. But this is the last thing you want to do in the position. This is so dangerous. You don't want to give two bishops with outside passed pawn. So there is no way Vincent was going to take on c7. Instead, he instead of trading the queen, he took on c7 and then he took the pawn. And the attack continues. Queen e7 on board. What do you think about a move like knight e2, I'm thinking? I was about to say knight e4, but then, you know, there is bishop b7, queen g8, some king h6. I don't see a...
Yeah, and then there are these queen e1 issues that you need to take care of as well.
Yeah. So maybe knight just to e2, yeah? You were keeping an eye on this pawn.
But probably even after knight e2, I'm just wondering if black can go bishop b7.
Yeah, I want to give a check. And do I become greedy or not? Probably not.
I mean, it's interesting. Can we take a look at that line? Can we take a look at what happens with knight f4? And let's see the most direct way for black to play. Give a check. I was thinking give a check on e1. Go for bishop a6. And is there a repetition here that white has? No, maybe he doesn't need it.
For sure. There are multiple ways, because always I have this backup here. You can just play h4.
Yeah.
I collect some material and I just play h4. So
king g5, maybe knight h3 check is also. Yeah.
Wait, did we just blunder?
There's still g4. There's still g4, no?
There's still g4 and we are still
surviving. And then queen g7, queen g2.
Yeah, we just survived.
We barely survived that one.
All right, so
king h6 on the board. So what was played actually? What white went for after knight d5? Can we just see the last couple of moves?
Yeah, so after queen e7, queen g8 check was played, and after king h6, knight d5 was played. Very direct. Inviting queen e1. Wait a second, queen e1 was not played.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, right? Queen e1, bishop f1, bishop a6.
And again, it's the same thing. Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You'll have h4 check.
That's true. Queen G7, and now Vincent goes for the end game. I'm pretty sure he would play A4 or B4. He is not going to give this pawn. Yeah, A4 on the board.
And now you just get your king?
I do not like what happened in last few moves.
You know, this might be the best position Black has had.
Absolutely. I think it was important to play knight e2 as we were discussing. Not this queen g8 check, but simply to play knight e2 and keep the attack. Because here after the queen trade, I think Black has ample compensation. I mean, it would be I understand still White is better. White should still win the game, but it became practically very difficult.
Wow, and Black down to 18, Vincent down to 18 seconds now. So he gets the king. Maybe he wants to get the king to f3 and start putting pressure on the f4 pawn as well. I think what White's aim in these end games, and correct me, gangs, to try and trade the light squared bishop. Bishop d3 could be an idea at some point. If he does manage to trade the light squared bishop, I think Black's life will be super difficult then.
Exactly. Then it is completely over. So, for example, at bishop f5 now, I'm sure Vincent is going to play bishop d3 without, well...
Bishop d3, you have to go bishop e6. You don't have an option because if you trade, it's game over.
Yeah, and now...
And d5 now?
d5, bishop has to go to g8. There's just no other way. So this bishop is getting more and more passive, right? Now maybe bishop f5?
Bishop e5. Maybe that was his idea, to provoke e5. So that bishop f5,
true.
There's bishop e5.
That's true. So now maybe you want to play bishop c4 or bishop e4. I actually like bishop e4 and then get the king to c4.
Knight b5. So still keeping up the pressure. d6 coming in.
Also good.
Bishop c4.
Yeah, this is Vincent will convert this, I believe. Still, it would have been much more easier.
Knight c6, a big threat. The bishop will have to move and the a7 pawn is falling.
Probably a5 at this point or bishop d6. Yeah. Actually, still Vincent has to show some good technique here.
Wow. I like how he's provoking Black to make these weaknesses and then just comes back with the knight to d4. After a5 has been played, he also needs to keep the clock situation in mind. So needs to get a few extra seconds. So making these moves fast. What is White's breakthrough plan in these? How can White actually improve the position from here?
Well, you want to get rid of this bishop. As long as this bishop is there.
Bishop b5, bishop b5, bishop c6. At least improve it. Okay,
bishop also I like. Yeah, you want to get your bishop to f5 and then bishop e6 and
bishop
then
e6. That's a nice square.
Yeah. Black will draw instantly if Black can get into opposite color bishop endgame. If you can change these two pieces, game is over. Yeah, and now just bring the king. This I really like.
That's a nice plan. That's a nice plan. And also, like you mentioned, that if Black trades the light squared bishop with the knight, it's an instant draw. So Vincent has kept the knight on the dark square. So that's never going to happen now.
Yeah, and I also want to emphasize that here, if he takes, the problem is this pawn might fall. Although I was actually getting curious,
But
Vincent,
you've got bishop f5, bishop e6, king e4, right?
Not that trivial actually. But you have this move h4. That is what will bother me the most at any given moment. Yeah, like for example, I would get into this endgame with the pawn on h4 maybe. But,
all right, let's see what's happened. Lots of progress because White's king has entered a6. So let's see how he got there.
So yeah, he just gave a check and straightforward went all the way to a6. Still not easy.
Yeah, and bishop c8 check. Imagine if actually that would be checkmate.
Wait,
whoa.
b5 check, and there's king a6.
Yeah, but imagine bishop d7 if bishop is on c8. Why is Vincent playing like this?
No, did he just miss this? Because you would never want to change the pawns here.
This is getting very tricky now for White actually with that king on a6. Pretty much trapped. That king is never coming home.
Bishop c2 is obligatory now.
Threatening to go into that opposite color bishop.
Wow.
So
no, there are some serious threats. I mean, this king.
Can we show the mate gangs really quickly before d6? Let's say knight g7.
Yeah, actually, it's still not a mate because you can come to b5. If you go here, then that would be a mate.
Something that White needs to watch out for.
Yeah, there was still king b5. So in the game, d6 was played.
Yeah, but after d6, king c6, that's a real threat now. So, but
Black is winning at this point, I think.
Black is winning?
I mean, Pawn is gone. I have two bishops. My king is much more active.
Vincent
White-
has blown this completely.
Yes, I'll be very surprised. How to hold this position now? I don't think it is possible anymore. All these are weaknesses.
So bishop b3, just picking up that pawn on a4 is the threat, and he goes for it. So now white has to go bishop b5, but then there's
King is coming, yeah? King is
yeah,
coming
you
all
come
the
in
way.
with the king here, or king b4, bishop a4.
Well, maybe after king d4, he wants knight e8. Maybe this is his trick.
King
Yeah, that's
d4, knight
on the
e8
board.
anywhere.
But a
You
move
just-
like no, I was thinking a move like even then he
Then
wanted
maybe knight f6
yeah,
and h4.
knight
Then you've got
e4.
knight g4 or knight e4.
Yeah. Oh, but this may be white again back in the game.
The players
Now
are
king
playing on seconds. It's a very tense game.
King d4 coming for this. Where do I put this knight? I don't see a good square actually. Can I? No, bishop e8 will be too much. How do I
But
stop?
maybe
king
what
e8?
happens after bishop e8? He
A
goes
knight
knight
e8.
e8.
I like knight e8 more actually. You attack this.
Okay, that
this
is a
ends
draw
in
for now, no?
This ends in a draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a
He-
second. Wait. How is it a draw?
Why? You just
Put the bishop on g4. I take no, but your king is coming. Your king is coming on time, so it's a draw. Because king
How is it
f2,
coming
king
on
e4.
time? And just
Now you
king-
play king e4.
and you basically
Oh,
your
this
idea
is-
was to go f5 after bishop g4.
Yes. Yeah, now this is a draw. You just maintain.
So that's actually very important that white got the king on e4, so black doesn't have f5 after
F5,
bishop
yeah.
g4. But
Yeah.
what an up and down game this was.
What a
This
game.
was
What a
completely
game.
crazy. And with this unbelievable
No, there are-
action, we've got some more live games on. Let's take a look at this one. So Jonas versus Dinara. What is happening here? King h7
Balance?
got it looks like black should be getting checkmated at some point.
No. Bishop is still alive. I think it is still balanced.
Hmm.
Whoa. This is not
Wait,
white.
what? Queen h? Who's getting checkmated now? Queen h5.
No, not queen h5. I was actually thinking what he was intending for rook c1. That could have been actually disaster.
And after knight f6, you've got queen h6 check
Queen
as
h6
well.
check. Exactly. No, rook c1 would have been a
Maybe
complete
knight
disaster.
f2, knight h3 was the only way to go.
Yeah, but that's something you don't want to do, right?
But this is also
So
getting
here
very
the-
tricky for white now.
Yeah, king is exposed.
And
Do
also the
not
a
play-
passer. Do you think black can actually hope for something here?
Yeah, but this rook, the move rook c2, why would I change this rook, such an active rook with such a passive rook on b2? So rook c2 is a move that I do not like at all. And now I don't think white is running any danger.
Yeah.
This is a very surprising decision, Tania, I must say, to change this rook. I mean, clearly the rook on c1 was attacking. And wait, what is happening now? King g6. So at this point, yeah, I would say the position is still equal. Although again, knight d7 allowed a5, and now a4 is coming.
Because the queen has to defend the d7 knight, so can't take that pawn. And this gives counterplay to black. And can white... Okay, so queen d6 check. You just go back with goes queen e6. So trading is a bad idea. I think endgame will be lost for white.
Yeah,
no?
you definitely don't want to trade queens. That's for sure. You want to play queen d6 again, and I'm expecting maybe king h7 now.
Okay, so Jonas, despite being uncomfortable, decides to keep the game going. He's just allowing black's pawn to keep pushing.
No, but queen takes a4 is there, yeah?
Oh, d7 is not. So bishop e5 then?
Why? a4 was played on the board, yeah? But why
Maybe
can't
it
I
was.
take it
Maybe
off?
she thought the d7 knight is hanging because that was actually also, it's something that can happen.
True.
When we're analyzing, it's different, but on the board, it's so easy to miss that because you played the move a5, right? Which worked. The queen couldn't move. So somehow in the mind, you feel you can just go a4, especially playing with 5 seconds on the clock.
I understand, but what I did not get was why she didn't take back the pawn on e5 and instead she wants to play a pawn down. I mean, you blunder a4 and then you just take the pawn and make a draw, no?
That is a reasonable question.
Because now you're playing the same position pawn down for no reason and you just lost this pawn.
True. Very true. But all right, the good news for Dinara is that White has got a double pawn, G2, G3. So still very difficult for Jonas to make anything out of this extra pawn.
That is true. It's not, I mean, even after queen trade, it's a draw. So, and she's constantly doing that.
Yeah, but Jonas is not going to repeat.
Actually, what happens if I take and play this? You have this king f7, king e7. So I can't do that.
And you lose the e5 pawn.
Yeah. So they are repeating. This is the only game that is going on, right?
Yeah. This is the last game of this round, round 10. So G4 on the board. So now she's got to be a little careful because she doesn't have queen f5 at any point.
Yeah, and I definitely prefer White at this point. Play queen f5. This trade is very good. Actually, if you trade here, this knight is very nicely blocking the king, and that would be lost. So this trade Black will avoid.
This is the nicest trade because you also undouble your pawn. You get a strong pawn on f5 and e5. So definitely avoids that, gives checks, activates the queen. Still not trivial. Is he threatening to go e6 or probably has to keep that e5 pawn alive for chances, no?
Yeah, but now this queen is so active. This should end in a draw. Okay, this even if you take, it's a draw. You have to take, basically. You don't have any other choice.
But if you take, queen e8 is a big threat. Do you go queen b8 now?
b8, why not?
So
or
queen b8.
Or I can queen b3 actually also.
Queen b3 defend, but then what about queen e8, queen f8?
Oh, there will be some check. Oh, there are no checks? No.
No, there is no check after queen d1, king h2.
There are no checks. There are no checks, yeah.
So alert Dinara, queen b8 played, queen f5, but this is getting, it's getting
so now if you play this, there is queen e1 and queen e5.
Yeah, so this is a nice square for Black's queen, always threatening this. King h2, a nice soft move here, but there's also queen f4 check whenever you move your queen from f5.
Oh, king h8, yeah.
Your move played king h8. So now the point is that queen c8, king h7, queen f8, you go queen f4 and you pick up the f6 pawn.
Basically, we just need one of these checks that should do the trick. Queen c2 on the board. I can play king g8 still. King h6, queen f5. It's a stalemate. Play queen g3. Play queen g3.
Oh my god, that's beautiful. Play queen h3, queen g3 and take on g2.
Queen h3, queen g1. Play something. Come on.
And take on g2. And she finds it. She finds it. You know, definitely Dinara would be this. And let's just also show that if White comes back with the king, queen g2 would force White to actually accept the queen. And then that ends in stalemate. You know, even though Dinara messed up a position where it looked like she was the one trying and went into this passive position which she had to hold. But I think this last position that we have in front of us, this is something to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Wait, what? I think these results are wrong. These results are wrong.
What happened?
I'm pretty sure this game ended in a draw. It shows lost and won, but that is not the case. Let's get a confirmation from Tad. We will get to know shortly. Let's just show what happens, gangs, after king g3 and king g1 both.
Yeah, king g3, the king cannot move. It's stalemate. And after king g1, there are a million moves here. You can make a draw like this. But here, just take on g2, force White to take. And then again, it's a stalemate.
That's amazing. Very picturesque. That's very picturesque. I think queen g3, a nice finish. And when you do that, when you get that on the board, it makes you feel good about your game, regardless of what has happened.
Yeah. How many times have you got stalemate on the board?
I wouldn't remember, but I've definitely had it. And I've had this similar thing where you actually give up the rook by following the king. And that wasn't very long back. I think it was in 2018 or 2019. You start giving checks with the rook and the king takes it and it's still a stalemate.
Right.
But maybe just 2 or 3 times in my entire which is actually not that much. But I think it's, even if you get it once, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, gangs? Wait, what? We have an unbelievable update.
That is, he lost on time in this position after queen g3.
He lost on time after queen g3. Baer flagged in this position after queen g3.
And actually I'm thinking, I also want to ask chat, because I don't know about the rules. What would be the scenario? Imagine if white king was on h3 in this, exactly in this position. If white king was on h3 and white loses on time, I really want to know what is the rule. Then will it be considered as lost? Because my move is forced king takes g3. I cannot play anything else. And as soon as I play king takes g3, it is stalemate. Here, if I lose on time in the current position, I understand the argument could be, look, you play king h1 and then anything can happen. I can play queen g4, you play queen g6, I take and I win. But the same position with the king on h3, white loses on time. What is the FIDE rule here? Do you have any idea? Because I don't.
I am still just absolutely shook by what has happened, and I don't know if that is Jonas on the camera or not, but I wouldn't be surprised it is, because if something like this happened during a game, you would not be able to move. It turns out that after queen g3, Jonas just got flagged there, and that means that Dinara gets the point in a position where actually she had to sacrifice the queen to force a stalemate. Unbelievable. And there we have it, the results for round 10. What a dramatic end to the round that was. Gangs, we not only had a very picturesque stalemate, but a very unexpected ending to that game.
Absolutely. I mean, this is shocking. This is really shocking.
Let's take a look at this. And I have to say that it's been a good day for the girls so far. Carissa Yip holding on to her game. I think Zhu Jina also had a really nice game, but in the end lost. And this is just a very strange situation. What just happened? I'm quite surprised with this stuff, because it's a 5-second increment, right? And he had about 10 seconds on his clock. So
was it because of connection, or he just got flagged?
Yeah, we have to find out, because it very well could have been a connection issue. We will get an update from our producer what really happened there, because it feels like something was not right. To get flagged by not making a move in this position feels like it's very improbable that happened.
True. Tania, would you like to see? Because Paulina won. Yeah, I'm very curious. She's completely on fire. Yeah.
Paulina on fire. I mean, and Gangs, you were talking about fortresses, and you mentioned the game that we had with king a3, knight b2, and that was Paulina with the white pieces messing that fortress up. And ever since that game, she has been nailing this tournament. She won 2 back-to-back games yesterday. She beat Nordebek. She beat... Who else did she beat? She beat Nordebek, and I think she beat Winston. I'm just going to get a double check on that. And today, like you're mentioning, what a tournament this is for Polina Shrivalova. Let's take a look at this game.
Yeah, so standard Ralopes Baer, close structure. Typically in Ralopes, we see, for example, this is 18 move, and not a single piece or pawn has been exchanged. So this is the first time we see a pawn getting exchanged. I already like white. He has more space on every side of the board. And this is a very nice way to make sure that the c4 pawn will be lost. Black had to take here, because after take, we take on b7 and then take on c4. So takes. And after this liquidation, we see knight f5 coming, and this bishop is completely dead. So Yali plays the move g6, taking away the f5 square. Once again, had to waste one more move, because queen c6 runs into knight into e5. So bishop d6 takes, taking at the right moment when rook b8 is not possible because of queen takes a6.
Very nice.
King b8, knight g5. Very nice game, actually. Hitting on f7. Wow. She's really on fire. I mean, I was just thinking, what is the point of knight g5? When next move it is you are going to get kicked out, and then
and rook d1 setting this idea up, knight e6, so that f e6 you've got queen e6, and now the d6 bishop falls.
Exactly. So, and then you pick up this pawn. It's such a beautiful game, actually. I must say, for a rapid standard, this is very, very high. I mean, I could actually, sell this game as the classical game.
Yeah, this is the kind of chess you'd be proud of to play in a classical game, no?
And also knight f1 showing instant understanding, getting the knight to d5.
The knight on
G3.
g3 is dead. You stop knight f4. You want to go king g2 and get that knight on d5.
And now another square on e4. Beautiful play. Look at this knight on b7, yeah, taking away the square on d6. This was very impressive, I must say.
From start to finish, even the
From start to
conversion
finish.
flawless.
Literally, I mean, I didn't see any blunder or any move that we can criticize White for. Very professional also. You don't want to think, right? You just give the knight. You absolutely don't want to think and just diagonal opposition. If you keep knight and king in this way, it takes 3 moves to give a check for this knight to that king. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful game.
Amazing stuff, yeah, by Polina here. Really nice strategic game, and then some flawless technique there with the white pieces. Let's see if we can have our standings up. Can we get that on the screen? All right, we will have to wait because I do believe that there is a little bit of a technical thing going on with that last game that we had between Dinara. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
on.
No. I said it's probably the game that was getting stalemated and then got flagged. Probably there are some technical issues there. So let's look at some more games.
Let's take a look at that because we're still waiting to get confirmation on what really happened there and how it actually ended, because it definitely looks like there was a technical issue there. So should we take a look at how Sarah lost to Leon?
Yeah. It's a very long game. It's a 80 moves game. A standard slab where White usually gets his bishop and plays for a long-term advantage with double bishop, and Black kind of says, I'm very solid. Long castle. This we saw in one of the other games also. I don't remember. It was on the first round, I think, similar. Queen c2. Of course, you don't want to save this pawn. Nobody takes this pawn because then there will be no place for this king to hide. And rook c8. And just as I said, there was no need to save this pawn. h3 happened on the board. But Sarah being as solid as possible. Knight ft7, and now going for h4, h5 break. Actually, I did not like this move h3. It just gives so much counter, and also the move d takes c5. I think Sarah wasted time on saving this pawn. And here I really like Black's position. It is coming so fast. Rook came to c1, bishop f6. Threatening on b2. The knight is so strong. White is trying to play e5 and get h5, but I don't think White will be on time at this point. Every move is coming with a threat. Knight is attacked. You don't get time to play e5. Now, again, the knight is attacked. There is no time to play e5. So knight c5 on the board. Takes, bishop e7, attacking the knight. And by the time White will create any threats here, a5, a4 might come very quickly. e5, queen b7, trying to hit on g2, taking the diagonal. Black is so solid here that it's very difficult to create any breaks. Why was king h7 played? Yeah, go on, Tania.
No, let's go through this one because I think the games are starting soon. So let's just see how this one ended. And it still looks...
We got some endgame, but these pawns, yeah?
On the same color as the bishop.
Yeah. Actually, this king is much safer. Oh, and I'm pretty sure something was missed here because I like the move. Queen d8, there was queen e3, who knows? Yeah. After knight g5, queens got traded, and then there is no chance. Once the queen is off, you're not going to fight with the bishop when pawns are on different wings. And also,
Yeah, and
let's
then-
point out that this is the right color of the bishop.
Very important. And a knight is such a bad defender against these kind of pawns far away. And in general, in these endings, the bishop just ends up dominating the knight.
Exactly, exactly. So, and that is what pretty much happened in the game. I think it was a long game, but after the end game came, I think result was never in doubt.
Wow. And we do
content.
have some
Okay.
update. We have an important update, and this game, as we can see, Leon managed to convert. So it turns out that in that game, a bit that Dinara had against Jonas, Jonas was about to capture the queen, but then a disconnect did happen as we thought it did. Eventually, both players knew what had happened and agreed that this should be given out as a draw because white was going to play king g3, and at that moment Jonas disconnected, and in fact it was Dinara who felt that the result would be unfair, so she was massive sportsmanship there as well. And with that, those were our results of the last round. So Jonas Dinara did end in a draw finally. The disconnect issue was resolved by both players, and this is where we stand going into game 11. We've got a Wonder Liang with a big 1-point lead, a big 1-point lead at a very crucial junction in the tournament, followed by Nordebek and Vincent. Nordebek and Vincent need to start scoring some wins to catch up. A Wonder on fire. Christopher Yu at 6.5. Gangs, we can see that the points, the way they are right now, it's spread out a little bit. The lead has increased. There aren't it's not a very tight pack right now.
Yeah, but Avenda should be happy at this moment. Yeah, like straight 1-point lead and with not that many rounds to go actually. But again, yeah, 1 point, we know it's nothing. Yeah, just one game here and there, and it's gone.
All right, and can we just quickly bring up the pairings for the upcoming matchup? And this is the action that starts now. It's round 11 with Balaji taking on Carissa. Team Kramnik, Team Polga matchup here. Zhuzhana against Vincent. And this is an important match for Vincent, who's trailing the leader by a point. Zhuzhana has had a good start so far. It's not going to be easy for Vincent with the black pieces. Volodar taking on Leitinge. Another Lei is also pretty much in form in this one. Leon against Nordebek. A Wonder plays Sarah. Dinara after that. Very insane game, and actually full respect to the players with their decision of the draw that was eventually agreed on. Takes on the youngest grandmaster from France, and Sokolowiski against Jonas. Christopher plays Polina, and we've got liftoff.
Yeah. What you want to start with? Let's start with our leader. Yeah. Let's see what he is doing. Playing against Sarah. Didn't we see this opening once by Sarah in this tournament itself? I believe that was after including b5. Sarah played b5 and then knight g7, knight g6, and after d4, she went back bishop to e7 in that game. And this time we see a completely different line. What is this move, bishop b3? Trying to make a sense of it, and it's a move that I have not, at least I don't remember seeing it.
Without being provoked by b5 to voluntarily fall back with the bishop.
Yeah, I mean, my first question would be why not to play something like bishop e3? Was he worried about something like d5? No, can't be sure. So bishop b3 was played, castle, bishop e3, d6. So black is trying to say that the knight on g6 is better placed as compared to the knight on f6, as I can get some sort of queen f6 and knight coming to f4. So that's a very original way of playing. And I want to point out very quickly why black played h6. Chat, or also Tania, why h6 was played in this particular moment.
Wow, Chad, that's a good question. That's not so easy to answer. Why does black include h6 here? Now, when the knight is on f6, h6 is the obvious choice because very often you stop bishop to g5. But what does black have in mind after h6? Where does he want to place his pieces in a way that h6 could come into good use? And gangs, let's go on. Let's see, because I think the way the game proceeded, we've got our answer.
Yeah. because queen f6 can be played, otherwise bishop g5 would have trapped the queen right there. So d takes e5, takes. I actually like black's position at this moment, because the way I'm looking at this position is, okay, my bishop is not bad. It cannot be bad at this point. I've got a good knight, and yeah, I can play bishop a6. I'm maybe rook to e8, or even the move rook d8 and knight e7. There are a bunch of options here, and I think black should be happy with the opening. Oh, by the way, Tania, I'm just spotting a tactic. Can I play something like rook d8? I just want to show this. And after this move, can I actually take on g2? And after king g2, do I have bishop h3 check?
Oof.
At least some idea, right?
That's
Because
really nice.
You cannot take, you kind of get mated. So
Mm.
after rook d8, you have to be careful. Probably you might want to play, knight to d5. I guess you have to play knight to d5. I don't see any
And
other
after
way.
queen g6, you've got knight f4. Is that the point?
Yeah, that's the main point of this this move. But actually, I don't need rook d8. Basically, if you move the queen, I always have this tactic that one should watch out for. Knight g2 and bishop to h3.
But perhaps white wants to go knight d5 anyway after knight e3 to get rid of this f4 knight, because it's really making life difficult for white. And rook d8, knight d5 played.
Yeah, rook d8, knight d5 was absolutely obligatory. Black would have loved to play knight e7, but the problem of knight e7 is then you don't get rook d8 easily. That's why rook d8, knight d5 also forced. What do I do now? Because queen g6, I see there is a knight takes f4. Do I take here?
The knight d5 definitely looks like an option here, no? Because after knight d5, what are you going to recapture with the bishop? Or the pawn?
The pawn, yeah.
And then you just come back with the knight to...
Well, you don't have to move the knight immediately. So you might even consider moves like g4, bishop g4 or e4. There are possibilities. I would be very tempted to play bishop g4 at this point.
And after queen d3?
I mean, worst case, I can simply shatter the pawn structure.
Yeah.
No?
On the board, by the way, bishop d5, bishop g4 has been played. Queen e2, stopping e4. Looks like black is doing fine. Can we conclude this by saying that Sarah should be happy with the opening outcome?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a look at some other games.
Can we take a look at the Christopher U board? Christopher up against Polina. Polina has been a star player in the event so far. And Christopher, of course, the big 1-point lead. So a big matchup here.
Look, Tania, do you remember other day also we saw one of this line? I think it was the Vincent game, yeah? D takes e4 and queen takes d1 happened. One of the very trendy lines. I don't know if it was day 1 or day 2, but we definitely had one Caro-Kann like this. And g6, and only now playing e5, saying that, okay, I am going to play Caro-Kann advanced. I don't mind, but since you have played g6, as compared to the normal Caro-Kann advanced, you don't get your bishop on f5 because there is no more fallback since you committed g6. So that's why after g6, white says, I am ready to waste a tempo. I don't mind playing d3 and then d4. I'm just saying that the move g6, it only stops you to play bishop f5 because you don't have a retreat. That's why c5 and now d4. So interestingly, if we compare this position, for example, from the main Caro-Kann advance, one of the main, apart from bishop f5, the other line is knight c5. And here, white plays knight f3. We have the exact same position in the game with an inclusion of g6. So white is trying to say, you know, if you play g6, I don't even mind playing this position with the tempo down. So we got a position like this. I'm pretty sure this is part of preparation.
Knight f6.
I don't know where the preparation ends, though. Having said that,
that's a pawn. That's a pawn.
That's a pawn, yeah, because you cannot take here at the end. Your knight is hanging.
But maybe knight is the point knight b4 at the end. Oh, he's got knight b4 immediately. I was thinking maybe queen. Okay, so he's got knight b4.
There is knight c3.
Knight c3, getting out of both threats. So he goes knight b4. So playing for initiative here. Knight c2 is a big threat. And after queen d8, rook d8, knight c3, you just want to keep the pressure.
I love what Polina did actually. And then you place maybe something like bishop f5.
And what is this? Let's say, okay.
Yeah, you are
bishop-
threatening to play a6 and then get bishop to d3 and then on c4. You get very good compensation actually.
Wow, and
I like
Polina,
that at this point.
very, very active play by Polina here. A very important game for both these players. A Wonder is got a 1-point lead. Christopher is at 6.5, so still in striking distance, but he needs to win some games. Meanwhile, Polina as well, having a really good last couple of rounds. She's currently at 4.5. So definitely looking at creating a mess in this one. Now, knight b4, what should he play? He can't go queen e4 because of bishop f5, knight c2. Do you have to trade the queens?
I'm actually curious what he's thinking about, because I don't even understand what is the other move you have apart from 68.
Is queen c2, queen h4 completely crazy?
Maybe,
sorry,
yeah,
queen
you're
e4,
right.
queen e4.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe this is the only thing that he is thinking about. Yes, I totally agree with you. Because after this, then you want to take here and you want to create some sort of attacking idea. Yeah. So this is the correct
get
point.
Spicy. This is going to get spicy if he goes for this.
Absolutely. Queen e4. And the fact that, Christopher is thinking at this point, I'm pretty sure Paulina also understands then that he is considering queen e4, queen h4. Tania, I want to bring your attention to another game, which is very strategic. No, this Dinara game. I mean, look at this position.
Oh, wow.
And I also want to point out somewhere around this point, yeah, this was a position. And Dinara just decided, my king will be much safe on king side. It's a pleasant weather. Let's take a walk outside. So she started her journey with king f2, getting the king all the way to b3, saying that you want to open up the king side. Okay, I want to run on the queen side. And the king came all the way from g1 and it ended up on b3. But end of the day, problem is, yeah, you got your king on the queen side, but you still don't have any play on the king side either. So not very sure.
Bishop on h1. I'm also not. White has to. I mean, that
bishop
on h1 is not a pretty pace.
That's a bishop, yeah. Kind of hard to recognize, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to recognize that piece, what it really is. I completely get it, but I mean, to me, it just looks like no matter how blocked the position is, and of course, a very creative plan by Dinara, but Black's the one who's got the first control on h-file. He's got this h4 square knights. White knights are not really getting anywhere. And I think once again, we can conclude this one by saying that Maurizi should be happy with the way things have turned out after the opening.
Yeah. Let's go to the Vincent game.
Yeah, I want to go to the Vincent game because it's caught my attention. Once again, a completely wild position on the board.
White is lost.
What is happening here? So queen a5 played.
White is dead lost here. I mean, this knight is under attack. The best you can do is take.
Wow.
And I can just take. The tactic here is after takes. You cannot move in these two squares because I take. You would love to go to e2, but then bishop c4 picks up the queen.
Also, the h8 knight is just hanging after bishop c4. Bishop c4 is mate, in fact.
Yeah, bishop picks up the queen. You have to take queen c4, then I take, and subsequently I also take the knight on h8.
This is insane stuff. Can we just back up and see how this collapsed so quickly for white?
So, for example, at this point, it doesn't look that bad. It looks fine. Bishop f4, okay. Yeah, already around here, I think black. Oh, that was it. Knight h5. He took on g6.
Is it already disaster after knight h5? Because you're hitting that e5 knight, the bishop on f4 is hanging, and then were these tactics that were just missed.
Wow, Vincent on fire. This was such a nice...
and also, let's point out that if we just back up a few moves, knight f4 was not a possible after knight h5, knight g6.
Yeah.
If you take knight f4, then just queen c4. Is that the point?
Yeah, queen c4, stopping castling, making sure that you cannot take here because this is on the pin. Threatening bishop takes c3. Pretty much sums up.
Yeah, looks like game over to me, no?
Yeah, so it was probably too early, to go for bishop f4 with this queen h4 and bishop f4. Knight h5 is such a star move.
Such a star move. And I wonder if after knight h5, there's anything white can do because the knight on e5 is attacked. And suddenly all of white's pieces at queen on h4 feels extremely misplaced.
Yeah. Everything looks wrong at this point.
Struggling to see a move. And let's see how it finished. Knight g6, knight f4, queen a5, another star move. I wonder if she missed this idea of queen a5.
Definitely. I have no doubt on it. King e2 on the board. There are million ways to win this game. I wonder what Vincent will choose. Probably just take this. You can also take on b2. Every single move wins in this position.
I think he's going to take on h8. It's hard to say really because bishop b2 and queen c3 is also so tempting.
Bishop b2 is tempting, and you probably don't want to go to some end game because then knight will sack. I would probably just simply take on h8 and finish it. Now he goes for bishop takes b2.
And only 20 seconds on the clock for Zhu. So this is
but
maybe you can have as much time as you want and you can't save this position.
Sure. I mean, 2 seconds will also be enough to win this.
And I think if you go rook b1, maybe just queen c3. You don't even need to rush to take h8.
Yeah, queen c3, a super strong move. Queen c3 actually will be winning on the spot. You are threatening to take on c4. I don't see a single way to defend this.
Queen a2 also very strong, same idea. It also picks up another pawn, and there is other devious threats like bishop c1 winning the queen.
Right now, bishop c1.
Bishop c1, you'll have to go rook d2 and then you win the bishop on b or the rook on b1.
Everything, or you just take everything and then pick up this knight. Vincent goes for bishop h8, which is also winning, and now queen takes b1 will be designation immediately.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. Vincent takes a big point home, and Zhu Jin, she knows that things went very wrong in the opening itself. So big point for Vincent. Let's move on to some of the other action that we have. What game catches your attention? Can we take a look at the Baer Sokolovsky matchup?
Wow, what happened to the king? I mean, I would want my king on f8 and rook on f8.
Okay, that rook on h8 is very, what is the pawns are equal? White has an extra exchange.
I like this move knight c4 really. I mean, I was just considering because knight, I don't want to allow this knight to get to e5. So knight c4 looks very strong. At this position, if castling was allowed, I would prefer black. If black could magically play king to h8 and rook to f8, I really like black's position.
He's trying, he's getting there. He's getting there. One move at a time. King h7 next.
King h7, rook f8, and then try to play f5. I would prefer black, but it is going to take a lot of time, and you don't have that much time.
Yeah, I don't think white is going to let that happen. So, okay. So white has got extra material and black's piece is really tied up, but time really matters here. So queen d4, getting a tempo, hitting that knight on d7.
And let's say if you play bishop c6, I want to go knight a5. That's the point.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Knight a5, queen a5, rook c6 would wrap up the game.
Oh, this looks disaster.
All right, this one is looking bad news for black because there's other games which really matter for our standings a lot. So I want to go to that one, which is Nodebek against Mendoka. Can we just get an update from you on what's going on here?
Black is clearly better and white is going to have a very tough time. So material is equal, but it is all about the piece activity. First of all, these two pieces are more active than these two, because there is a direct threat. And then second is pawn structure. There are weaknesses. The most, when I'm looking at this position, the first move that comes into mind is to centralize my queen with queen d4 on the board, by the way. The most natural move. You want to centralize your queen, keeping an eye on f2, keeping an eye on d4. Given a choice, what will be my next few moves? Play king g7, play h5, h4, put your rook on d2. Just stabilize your position completely. You don't have to bother on this set. Just one move, a5 will take care of any weaknesses. White is probably trying to play queen a6. I'm not a big fan of this move, rook b2 at all. I see why rook b2 was played. Maybe he was scared of some sort of c5 ideas. But in general, I'm not a fan of rook b2 because, okay,
Yeah,
no,
now
this
your queen gets a little decentralized, and white can activate his own rook with rook e1 now.
absolutely, absolutely. No, this rook b2 felt so wrong.
And white would be happy to repeat. Queen d4, just come back, rook f1.
Exactly so.
Might just actually end the game here. He goes rook b4, keeps it going. Well, gangs, this is going to be a long, long fight with both players trying to make something out of it. Let's take a look at our tournament leader at 8 points, a 1-point lead. Liang Awanda is playing Sarah, and it looks like he is going to keep that lead or not. Maybe not that. Wait, what? What's
Yeah, so
happening
the
here?
first of all, queen f5 is rook d1 check, mate in one.
Mm-hmm.
I
But he does
still
have an extra
prefer-
exchange.
Yeah, I still prefer white. You just have to make sure you consolidate this position. I'm looking for a way to consolidate. Can I play rook c3? If I can play rook c3, I would play rook c3.
Goes for
But
rook f3. He goes for rook f3, placing a
That's
lot
all.
of pieces on that diagonal.
That's also fine. You get out of this pin. You really want to get king to g2 sooner or later. But rook f5 is not a threat. I just want to point out, just to show that even if you play a move like this, rook f5, there is always check, you unpin, and then you take.
Very nice.
So rook f3, you are not really threatening rook takes f5.
Wow, both players down to about a minute on the clock. This is getting a bit intense. White does have extra material, but we know how tricky the knight can be. Sarah, in any case, sidesteps. King h8, a prophylactic move, just saying that with low time on the clock, I don't want to take any chances.
Yeah.
But here, I like your move of, he goes e6. I was thinking about rook c3. He goes e6. And now does he just pick up the g6 pawn?
Oh, king g2, seriously?
And very important because rook g6 would have run into rook d1, picking up the queen.
g5, you are allowing this. Sorry, I missed you. For this, yeah, there was
just rook d1 actually picks up the queen, so you can't take that pawn.
No, yeah, he spoiled it because after g5, okay, this knight is protected. You have to every move you have to watch out for moves like knight h4. I think he rushed with e6 a bit. Still not bad. But e7, black definitely has compensation here, practical compensation.
Queen d6 played.
No, I mean, during a game, you would never be sure as white in this position. I mean, black looks...
Yeah, he looks scary, with this knight h4 ideas coming in, the open diagonal h1-8, the king feeling a bit unsafe. And king h8 turned out to be such a tricky move because otherwise rook g6 would have been a check.
True. All he needs is to trade queen. So he is trying for queen c8 and rook c7.
Yeah, but I mean, black already has an extra pawn for the exchange as well. So if he can keep the queens on, it's not even such a big material deficit anymore.
True, but at this moment, white would love to exchange queens.
Firstly, where do you go with your king?
h3.
No other square. You can't go onto the back rank. Rook d1 is checkmate. So after king h3, this is looking scary. So white has a clear idea. Queen c8, queen c7, right?
This is his main idea. Absolutely. I'm thinking about the move queen f8. So that after queen c8, I play rook d8. But then you have queen e6. I'm also missing all sorts of checks.
But in that position...
on either side.
Wow, amazing stuff. So king h3 on the
rook
board.
f5. I also like this move because she took care of queen c8. Prophylaxis. Very good.
Will you play queen d4 queen d4?
I would play queen d4 instantly.
And then you don't really care about rook f2 because your rook goes to d7 and you start picking up pawns as well.
Oh, not rook f7. I was expecting rook f7 because here... Sarah is saying, if you want to take my pawns, take it. I want my king on g6. I want to take on f2. She will play king g6. And at this point, actually, Avanda has to take a decision. Do you want to take this one? But once you allow rook takes f2, you're also running into some sort of mating net. King g3 is good.
Rook b5, rook b3. I like the way Avanda is playing. Rook b3 is a nice move.
Absolutely. And now come back. She'll probably repeat. Then you come back on f1, maybe. Yeah. This, I think, Avanda will...
will convert?
Yeah, because now your king is safe. and your pawns will be faster than black's pawn. So rook h1 I'm expecting at this point, or yeah, rook h1. But this looks dead lost. Just play rook b6 or rook d6. Rook b6 on the board, you start picking up pawns, you win this game. Yeah, Evander is winning at this point.
Wow, that was a bit of a turnaround, allowing that g5 idea and knight h4 coming in. Looked a bit scary suddenly, but keeping control on the nerves. And now this is just over, right? Because there's absolutely nothing. You can even pick up the a6 pawn.
Absolutely. We can move to some other games if you want.
All right. Let's take a look at the Volodar game. We haven't taken a look at that one. So can we just see Leighton versus Volodar? Very important one for Murzin, this one, because he is currently at 6 points. And he needs to score. He needs to score. He's on 5th place right now. So he's got a real shot.
Oh, he is winning, yeah? He's a pawn up again. G4 coming. Some nice square on F3. A clear pawn up. And I also like this pawn formation currently, shutting this bishop. King h7 is such a professional move. And he's playing very fast. We know Volodar was struggling with his time management.
I think he always does fall short on the clock, and he does struggle with it, but he plays so strong when he's got a few seconds on the clock. We very often see him keeping things under control despite having so much pressure on the clock.
Absolutely so. Knight e7 I like. The knight is coming to d5. Although I wouldn't mind playing one move g4, because once you get this g4 move in, sooner or later, your knight will find a route to get to f3. Okay, this is also good. He's just improving his position without making any committal decision.
Also gaining a few seconds, but it's getting a bit stressful. I mean, down to 18 seconds, lay down to 27. Black needs to find a way in. At some point, he's got to commit something with these pawns.
Yeah, I mean, I did not like, Black allowed white to play h3. I would have really played g4, fixing this weakness. These are the moves that you make instantly. Yeah, b5 and g4. These are the moves you play almost instantly. And he gave a lot of chance, but still it's clearly better for Black, and Black should win this game.
Oh, that's an intense.
Do you like to stay with this game, or you want to move on?
Let's stay with this one with the players down to seconds.
Sure.
Because Evander has won his game against Sara, so he really keeps up that 1-point lead going into the final round of the day. And yeah, let's stick with this one.
Yeah, Nodibreak also won against Leon.
So rook e8 on the board, still making sure that Black is not able to play f5 very easily. But how does Black actually improve? So this is interesting. You never trade, of course. You keep the rooks on the board.
Yeah. No, play g4. At some point, you need to play g4. He's probably trying to play h4. King f5 at this point.
Goes for it.
Now, can you imagine? I mean, any given moment, yeah, you would have played g4 with the pawn on h2.
His idea is different, gangs. I think he just always wanted to go h4.
Very, very strange. I mean...
So why do you suggest g4? If we just back up to that position, we've got the live board really quickly. Why g4 is better than h4 in these?
No, at any given moment, right? I thought let's play g4, play b5 if you want to get your king somewhere, and sooner or later this knight, you will find a path.
Yeah.
Some way or other, you will get a route.
Very nice. And the h2 pawn is a forever weakness. Well, he had a different plan. He wanted to go h4. But even this, Black-White needs to be careful, because let's get up to date with our live board. h3, also a big weakness in the camp.
True, but here it is more dynamic. I mean, now you have to find a concrete way. And also knight on f, you are not going to get knight on f4 so easily.
Yeah,
because
you'll play bishop d2. Maybe
you
Black
don't want
to get
to
knight d8, knight e6. Knight d8, knight e6 is a plan, but how do you make that happen? Because this f6 pawn is hanging.
That is one thing. And second thing, when you get your knight on e6, I'll also bishop to e3.
the game just immediately stopped because it was a threefold repetition. And I wonder if Volodya figured that out, or he just repeated it without really understanding that it happened thrice.
I think he didn't realize, because twice it happened with king f7, and then once it happened with king to d5. But
Maybe
I must say,
sorry, go on.
No, I must say I'm actually a bit shocked with this this h4 g4 stuff, because it feels so natural to play g4 at any given moment.
Yeah, put your pawn on the light squares, fix black spawns, try and think of a way to get the knight on g4. Your king will be absolutely safe on f5. So definitely a technique there. Maybe it comes down to the clock situation where you need time to come up with these plans and you've got seconds. It counts. And this is how our 11th round was. We have had 6 decisive games, and wow, 3 wins by black, 3 wins by white, and 2 draws with Carissa. Carissa has been having a really impressive tournament so far. Carissa, Vincent, Nordbeck, Ewanda, Sokolovsky, and Christopher all scoring wins, and we've had 2 draws. Let's see if we can bring up our standings going into the final round of day 3. And I have to say that 1 point lead is going to be a big one right now. Take a look at that. Ewanda at 9 points, a clear point lead, and sharing second place, Nordbeck and Vincent with 8 points. But still, lots of games to be played. Anything can happen. Christopher Yu also in striking distance with 7.5. And Volodya, well, for him to make it to the top at 6.5, he needs to score really big in the next few rounds. Gangs, what's your take on the standings that we've got currently?
I really like the way Evander is playing. So currently, I would say he is the favorite without a doubt. But having said that, still a couple of rounds left. We still have 4 rounds left altogether, or 5 rounds left. 1 point is literally nothing, and I think championship is quite open. With 4 rounds to go, I would say championship is quite open.
Wow, it is wide open. We've got 4 big games coming up, but Ewanda can wrap up the day in style with a big lead. And of course, we've got some interesting stuff for our audience, gangs. Let's bring this up. Champions Chester wants to get to know the audience a little better. Now, of course, these are all the big prodigies and the talents from across the world, the future of chess playing in the Julius Baer Challengers Chess Tour. But what we want to also know is about you. Tell us, how and when did you learn to play chess? The most inspiring answer gets a month of Chess 24 Premium. And remember, with that month of Chess 24 Premium, you get access to all the training that the mentors have been doing with all these players during the Challengers Chess Tour as well. And we've had some interesting answers here with Ratnesh writing in. I actually started playing chess and getting to know about it in 2013 when the World Championship match was held in my country and watched it telecasted live. Wow, Ratnesh, that's actually an interesting story, because funny enough, gangs, that was actually my first tournament for commentary. That was my first commentary gig ever. And
I remember this. You, Lawrence Trent, Ramesh, and Susan Polgar, right?
That was the 4 of us. We were down in Chennai. Of course, it was such a historic World Championship match. This was such a big match, and it was happening in Chennai, in Vishy's home ground. Gangs, you were working with Vishy for that match.
I was working only for the training part, and I was actually not present in the Chennai. So I just worked until the first camp. So I'm actually quite happy about that, because I never saw Anand losing a match. So every time I was there, I only saw I was part of the winning team. It would be heartbreaking to see Anand losing.
It was very hard. I mean, that whole match, and of course, happening in India, the amount of support that was there for Anand and how the match went. Of course, it was very heartbreaking for Anand fans, but it was Magnus's time, and that was a very historical World Championship match. So very interesting. Thanks for telling us, writing in, Ratnesh, with this. Tell us, chat. Tell us what and how you started playing. Gangs, what about you? How did your chess
I was actually going to ask you the same question, but since you started. All right. So I was 5 years old, and I was a very calm and composed kid. Basically, back in those days, there used to be Mahabharata, a television show, and there was this archery and bow, and I used to shoot arrows in people's head. So that was one of my hobby. And to calm me down, I mean, my parents were like literally, like how to manage this kid. And to calm me down, they taught me chess. So that's how I learned chess, because I was constantly hitting arrows and on people's forehead.
Wow. Gangs
So,
was being the OG gangster at that time. And then chess saved us all.
right. And how about you, Tania?
Actually, a very similar story as well. I was a hyperactive child. I've got an older brother.
Was? Did I hear was? All right, go on.
This is the calm down version of me, and I have an older brother and an older sister who were in studying in higher classes and higher education, and I wouldn't let them study. And it was funny. We got a chessboard at home, and somehow the first day that it was got out, my dad was actually trying to teach my brother how to play, and I saw it, and I was this why child. I always wanted to know why of everything, and it was like, if you're teaching him, I want to learn as well, and if this is happening, I want to know what's going on here. So I went around poking my nose, and sort of, I don't know, I think they just noticed that I took to the game. I was calmer when I was playing it, and I loved beating my dad. I loved beating everyone in the family. Guests would come over, and I would start getting the chessboard out. I wanted to play a game with them. Everyone in my family, they just play horrible chess. It didn't mean anything, but it sort of took over my, like, if I wasn't at school, I would be walking around the house with a chessboard. And my
Wow.
parents saw that, and they luckily knew somebody, a local trainer. And then it started as a hobby, those once a week. I had dance classes, I had painting classes, I had music classes, and I also had chess classes. Turns out the only thing that I could do out of all the classes I had. So that's how it started for me. Chad, tell us, what's your story with chess? When and how did you get into the game? And the best answer will win a premium membership. We keep an eye out on that, and we've got one more game remaining. Let's bring up our matchups. Let's bring up
Wait,
what.
there is some game going on?
No,
So
we've
one more
got 2
game
minutes
remaining,
to lift off. We've got 2 minutes to lift off,
Tania,
and
do you want
one
to
more
see?
game remaining for the day. Sorry.
Yeah, Tania, do you want to see the final position of Dinara and Morozzi?
Let's
It's
do
very
it. Let's take a look at the final position that we had, and these are. Whoa. That is picturesque.
Yeah, it's such a white has so much of space, but it looks like a fortress.
Did you say fortress?
Interestingly, if there was no pawn on c4, I would think white would have won this game, because then you come to c4 and eventually pick up this pawn somehow. But yeah, this
Wow.
looks like fortress. It reminds me of my game against Polmario from one of the Spanish league. It was complete disaster for me. I got into some very serious trouble, but somehow I got similar kind of fortress in an endgame and managed to save the game.
But this is amazing, because visually it looks like white is doing so great here. The space advantage that you mentioned, b6, there is attack piled up over b6. Black's bishop on c7 looks like barely a bishop. White has got a rook on a7, queen on a6. But the question is, how does he break in? How does well, she, in this case, Dinara's done everything to improve the position. Is there a way to actually try and make it better? Or is this the most that white can get in this?
Only if there was a knight on c4. Somewhere, some sacrifice, yes, some bishop a5. But you take, and I'm not getting b6.
Wow, I've got chat in front. I just pulled up chat, gangs, and I see Arun saying that I learned chess as I had a crush on our school chess champion.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know what they say, people do crazy things in love. This is one of the less crazy things.
But Tania, just check out if it is not your school.
All right, moving on swiftly. Do we have action? We do have liftoff saved by chess one more time. This is the action that's coming up with Carissa taking on Polina, a big match. These two have been on fire today. Going to be interesting to see what happens when they face each other. Jonas against Christopher. Christopher still in the run for that spot in the Champions Chess Tour. And of course, the leader, A Wonder Liang. This is definitely, gangs, this is our game of the round. A Wonder taking on Nordebek.
Berlin. We got Berlin, Tania. I wonder playing Berlin.
A Wonder saying, I'm a point up. I'm black. I've got an extra point. I'm a point ahead of you. I just want to wrap this up.
Yeah, exactly. And I can bet any amount that this will not be queen d4, queen e4. We got rook e1, knight d6, a very standard line, bishop e7, and now bishop f1, castle, knight f5, knight e5. All sorts of moves are possible at this point. And I'm curious what is coming on the board. Knight f5. This is a way to stop d4, and now d4, d5 will happen. Knight c3, relatively trendy. I believe I wonder will think at this point, because knight c3 is not the most common move in the position. There is g3, c3. There are all sorts of moves. Knight c3 being not that popular. It's interesting because here, theoretically, we always felt that the knight on c6 is misplaced, and after c6, it took a lot of time for black to regroup this knight. And white says, you know, I want to play c3, but before that, I want to remove my knight from c3, and I want to get to some defined square. And we see that happening, and white is saying, I'll play c3 and try to fix, try to play against these two pieces. Now, if we just look at the pawn structure, it's symmetrical. So white's this tiny bit of advantage is the piece placement, particularly this knight on c6. And that is something black would like to solve, because white is going to solve that problem fairly easily.
Yeah. Now, I do really appreciate, gangs, you trying to make this position sound exciting. And of course, it can blow up, but it's not right now. This is going to take a while before the action gets hot here. Now, while
you're kidding, right? I mean, give this position to Peter Leko. And you know how interesting he can make this position, right? I mean, that will be completely different level. You're just seeing a trailer here.
This is just a teaser. Well, nothing sure things are probably heating up. But you know what? I'm going to call this one out. I think this is going to end in a draw. If you had to make a prediction right now.
Yeah, I would say draw, because again, if I have to pick a color, I would definitely pick white, because black still has to solve this problem of this knight.
Knight on c6.
It is not trivial. I mean, you have to do something. Yeah, I'm coming with c3, queen f3. Where do you place this knight? That is
and what's the problem with knight e7 again?
Yeah, knight e7 you can play, but then you have to give up this bishop. I mean, I can go even queen h5 or just play bishop d3. At some point, I'll get double bishop. That's for sure.
All right, so not subtle moments here. We will come back to this because a lot of excitement on some of our other boards. Can we take a look at the all-girls matchup between Carissa and Polina, because that one is already out of control.
This Caro-Kann with e takes f6, a very fashionable line. We have seen a number of times. Black goes with h5, h4 after castling in this line a number of times. I'm pretty sure that is what, h5. A very standard method of playing in this particular system. The knight gets to f8, long castle. Yeah, since black has played h5, white is trying to go long castle here. Looks like Carissa is prepared, maybe. Because usually I have seen black playing h5 after white goes short castle.
And also the fact that Carissa has more time on the clock than what she started with, I think definitely knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing, and she's completely crushing at this point. I mean, I don't want to allow d6. I cannot take with the queen because of bishop h7 check. So, and if I take with this, not only I lose this pawn, but also a very important square. Knight getting to d4.
By the way, gangs, I just noticed your t-shirt. It's really interesting because you've got like this heart rate thing which actually converts into chess pieces.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, the life of a chess player.
Yeah.
All right, so d5 on the board. Polina has got some big questions to answer right now. She's falling short on the clock. Let's continue our opening tour. This one we can conclude as saying, as you mentioned, Carissa not only knows what she's doing, but she's doing it really well. Looks like big advantage to white here. Where do you want to jump to? Let's take a look at. Can we take a look at Wallada versus Mendoka at Leon's game?
Yeah. I like the knight on f5 for sure.
Yeah, especially because Black's bishop is on b7 and there's no knight e7 challenging this knight.
Exactly. Now you need to come up with some sort of plan where how to create the attack. Move this knight somewhere. Move this knight, get the queen to f3.
All right, but Black Leon also got his own trumps playing on the king side, a5. Things are coming in soon. The knight has a nice c5 square, b4 ideas coming in. So quite a double-edged game, this one, despite being a blocked position.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, you play b4. Let's say ignore. Still, I don't see a threat on the queen side.
Sure, but can Black actually try to get knight c5, bishop a6, get that knight into d3 at some point?
Probably.
Some ideas.
How would I continue as white? Do I play bishop g5? I like bishop g5 actually. Maybe to have the bishop here, because once you play once you play h6, maybe I'll try to create some sort of attack on the king side. I would prefer white at this point for sure.
All right, but still, I think too early to call. I look at this position and I get why you like white because of these situations that you mentioned with the Black bishop on b7, knight on f5. But I still think that Black does have some counterplay. So too early to really call up on this one. Let's just say very slightly better for white out of the opening.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. That would be a...
The game that I really want to go to is the Christopher Yu one, because that one, I think we are going to have a drastic judgment, at least really soon. What is happening in this opening?
What do we have? Keres attack? Keres attack. Yeah, that is the main reason. That's the very main reason why Scheveningen is not that popular because of Keres attack. And this is a very classical line. Last time I faced this particular g4 e5 in Dresden Olympia 2008. I think in that game I went knight f5. I like white's position at this point. There are some concrete issues that one has to solve. But for example, can I even play a move like just f3 or queen f3? I was actually more inclined to f3.
Queen
f3. Yeah, you want to get your knight to e3.
Well, g6, other tactical ideas like knight h6 also, or no?
Probably. But g6, I mean, I'll probably not even think about g6. From the moment I see knight e3, I don't have to.
Yeah. d5 is the main square here, the fight for d5. And just a quick update that Christopher Yu is currently on 4th place. He's got 7.5 points. So he's 1.5 points behind a wonder. So this is actually a really big match for him to try and edge closer going into the final day. This is where we stand in this last round. And as we can see at 7.5, Christopher Yu with white pieces going all out in the Keres attack.
Yeah. How is queen c6 here, Tania? Can I do this or not? But probably I'm not even sure if I'm threatening anything. Yeah, I am kind of giving some half threat with knight e4.
We are being informed that Twitch actually believes that it will be a draw in the Nordebek A-Wonder game. The Berlin that we were talking about. Twitch is in favor of a draw, while a YouTube chat has belief in Nordebek's position with the white pieces. And that's what, Gangs, you've been talking about. That slight nagging advantage. Well, very, very slight. And what do we have here?
I still think Black has to solve certain issues. I mean, first of all, okay, the move that we should show is what happens for queen takes c7. There is probably g5. Most likely I'm losing this bishop. Yeah. As white, I would consider moves like just something simple, rook e2 or rook e3. I don't know which one. One of this move would come into my mind, just try to double and still ask black, how exactly you are solving your issues. You can play knight e7 if you want. I just want to double. I mean, try making a move like what is a natural move for you. Let's say I play rook e2. What is a normal move for you as black? And then you understand, although the position looks equal, it's not very easy to make the moves. How do you play here?
Yeah, after queen f4, bishop f4, there is an annoying threat on c7.
Yeah, and my moves are very simple. I'm not making anything special, right?
I somehow want to trade rooks on the e file. Is that a possibility? Can we see instead of trading on f4, after the move rook e2, does black have time to somehow try and trade? Because bishop d7, I'm a little worried about queen c7 because now you hit the bishop on d7.
That is very true. That is very true. So white's moves are, I feel, easier here. Also, particularly in rapid. Black's problems are minor, but it is annoying because your moves will not flow. Rook e2 on the board.
Rook e2 on the board. Nice judgment there by Gangs. And as he mentioned, that it's not much, but it's difficult for black. It's not as natural for black to come up with ideas. Easier to play for white. Doubling up on the e file. All right.
He took. He changed the queen and played rook a8. But now the problem is, okay, once I play rook a1, I'm pretty sure Avonder will like to address the problem of his knight and play a move maybe like knight b8. Try to get your knight somewhere else apart from c6. This is what I'm expecting to happen. Rook a1 on the board, knight b8 also on the board.
Nice. Calling out the action here, knight b8. So that problem that you were mentioning, finally black working towards solving it. So do you think black is now inching closer towards equality, complete equality?
No, it is definitely not completely equal still. Still, you have to show some more technique. Although I like this bishop on h4 because it in a way stops me to play f4, f5 at least instantly. But for example, I'm just thinking, let's say I make a move bishop h6, knight f1 happened. But I was thinking a move like, let's say bishop h6, and after knight d7, try to play f4, f5. But instead, the move knight f1 happened. He also wants to improve this knight d7 on the board. This is probably hitting now. Still slight better, but I believe this will end in a draw.
All right, we'll come back to this. Can we get an update on the Vincent versus Lay board? Because again, super important for our standings. Vincent is a point behind a wonder. This one, yeah. What is your opinion on this? When I look at it the first time, I just think black should be fine here.
It will be similar. I would also think black is fine, but I think it is much more easier to play from white side. It is black who has to be careful. I mean, you make one mistake here and you will run into some very serious issues. Imagine if this is already white to move, some move like rook d1.
And take on d5?
Well, first of all, this pin itself is pretty annoying. Actually, I was wondering why on earth, white played queen e2 to b2. It didn't make any sense to me. But then when I moved back, I realized, yeah, okay, there was a knight on b2.
That's an interesting position we had, because can we just take a look? Can we just back up a little bit in how we saw here? Because it must have been a interesting sequence of moves to get there.
You mean here, yeah? Like how the knight came to b2. Yeah, that's right. Takes, knight d3 happened. e5, wow.
Wow, doesn't defend. And that knight on b2 can't go back to d3 because of e takes f6. Or rook d1, which one?
Yeah, e takes f6 probably.
And knight e1?
F into e7.
Queen e7, and you take the rook on e8. And after all this, we see that white actually ends up with an extra piece.
That's right. So queen e2, knight d5, queen b2. I like white's position. I mean, I don't know what computer says, but to me it looks like black has to solve certain issues.
Queen d7, all
queen
right.
d7 is nice.
The rook, hits the
connects the rook, and also he's preparing for a6. So if I play a move like knight c3, what is happening? There is bishop b4. That's the point. there is bishop b4. And if I play a move like knight d4, then you can play maybe rook a c8 or bishop b4, rook a c8. Oh, queen d7 I really like. Queen d7 is a nice move.
All right, so very sharp lay, but she needs to be a little careful. 3.5 minutes down on the clock a little bit. We will definitely keep an eye out on this very crucial matchup. Can we take a look at the Balaji Zhu game? Because that one also looks like a very interesting position out of the opening.
Wow. She just took knight takes b5 and took here. Knight is coming to d6. How
Knight is
did
coming to d6. Knight is coming to c7. You're not going to be able to go castle. You do have an extra piece, so white has just sacrificed a piece.
You
Long
can
castle.
castle. This is a
Wow.
fantastic move. I did not see this actually. Yeah,
Maybe the only move in the position, no?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was the only move in the position. I have no doubt on this.
But this is a mess. This is a mess. White has sacrificed a piece for how many pawns is that? For 2 pawns. And Black's king is completely in the open. That's the Dubov king going long castle with no pawns in front of it. How does White continue the initiative here?
You just transfer the queen. I was about to suggest queen f4 or queen e3 and queen e3 on the board. I like White here massively. I just don't even know how Black is going to survive this position. It looks so devastating. You're just transferring your pieces, get your knight to d6. Yeah, Balaji is having a fantastic position. Rook d4, knight d6, everything looks pretty strong here. Rook d6.
I like that rook lifting off. You can also jump over to b4 and start pinning that bishop on b7. Knight d6, a really nice square. So you approve of the sacrifice?
Absolutely.
Very nice. All right, can we just go back to the Christopher position? Because there I see that there have been a lot of developments and a g6 currently on the board. Once again, Christopher has to win this game to try and keep his chances alive. What's going on here?
Once Vladimirov told us long back, it is easier to win from an equal position than from a worse position. And this is actually a worse position, so it is not going to be easy at all. I mean, I look at this bishop on d5 and I wonder who is going to get rid of this bishop. So let's say, I don't do anything. I just play something like knight. Actually, I'm thinking, can I even take here? No, if I take, then maybe you can take on f5. So probably just come back. I also want to point out one very interesting moment, Tania. Here, if you take knight e3, I actually wouldn't mind taking with the pawn. So I play knight g3, and after knight e3, I wouldn't mind taking with the pawn, making sure that after you play knight e6, both the squares are very nicely controlled. So this I really like.
Very interesting stuff.
Knight e6 on the board. I would probably play c3 here. Play c3, get this control, and after knight e3, take f into e3. That would be my choice in this position. c3 on the board.
All right, still, so Christopher, and down to a minute and a half. This looks like a tough position for Black.
It is, yeah.
Wow, and what is happening in the Sara Dinara matchup here? This is White just winning on the spot after rook d1?
But this reminds me so much of this, what was it? Koshonai was White, and who was Black? This famous h3 move? Was it Spassky? I think it was Koshonai Spassky, if I remember correctly, this famous h3 move with the pawn on c7. But anyways.
Maybe Tad can confirm what it was, but what was the concept, if you can tell us a little bit?
It is basically similar. White had a pass pawn. I'm pretty sure it was Black was Spassky. White had a pass pawn on c7, and similar. Black also had a pass pawn, and at a very crucial moment where Koshonai could take a rook, instead he plays the prophylaxis move h3, which was the only winning move in the position.
Wow. And now just rook e4. So you'd still have time to go rook c7 because rook e8 was a check. So that is a big extra pawn now.
Yeah, but you will start pushing a5, a4. And anticipating that, I would play g4 in this position as quickly as possible. In fact, as black, I would not have started with h5. I would not have started with a5, but would have started with h5. I'm expecting 4 versus 3. And in 4 versus 3, right, you want to play g4 and you want to get into this position. Once you get to 4 versus 3, there are two drawing patterns. One is you get your pawns on h5, g6, f7. The other one, which is not possible anymore, you get your pawns on in this formation. So from that perspective, g4 is a very strong move in general. But yeah, if white can find something concrete, sure. But I believe it is going to get in 4 versus 3. So you would want to play g4. I mean, at least I would have played g4 here, almost without thinking, and get into the rook pawn endgame.
But that's also not very easy to convert, right? That 4 versus 3, or
it is not, but you get a position like this, you play some move and you start, and it is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
It's not easy to convert, but it's more difficult to hold.
Absolutely.
And by the way, gangs, we are being told by chat that you were on point. It was in fact the Korchnoi-Spassky candidates match where Spassky made the move h3. Sorry, h3 was made by Korchnoi.
Korchnoi. It was very famous actually.
Amazing stuff. And Alan saying Gangs is really good at explaining chess. He is quite the gangster when it comes to explaining and playing. That is true. Calling out all the action here. So this one, can we move on from this one and say that this is going to be a technical fight between these two players?
Yeah, actually, talking about Korchnoi, I'm really sorry for drifting a bit. Talking about Korchnoi, I cannot help but mentioning, the games. This famous book by Korchnoi on rook endgames. I think he bet Antoshin, a very classy game. Then there is Botvinnik Nadov also, this 4 versus 3 with g4. So there are many classic games where you know that you need to play g4. You cannot allow h5, g6, f7.
And that's just a draw. Like that 3 versus 4 is much easier to hold for black.
Absolutely. You just play a4 and then you play h5 and then you get to rook 4 versus 3.
All right, but for right now, still all pieces on the board. f4 played. So going to be interesting to see how this one develops. We'll keep an eye out on this. But for now, let's take a look at how the tournament leader is doing against the player who is right behind him. A point following up. Nordebek versus a wonder.
Black has still not equalized in this game. So that, remember the tiny bit of advantage that we were talking about? It is still on. The bishop was bad. I'll go a little bit quickly. So white activated the king. White has more space. This knight does not have square. And yeah, once you have more space, it's very easy to move around. And actually, I think we're going to see some sort of turnaround here.
Right, so the d5 pawn is hanging, and you've got to go bishop b7 to save that. White doesn't have bishop white can't transfer the bishop to f3 because there's rook e4 check.
Not yet. But I'm actually thinking about this piece basically. For example, if I make a move like h5, I'm threatening h6. You probably have to play rook g7.
Knight g4 played. Does white want to go rook e2 and trade rooks in these kind of positions? Also, knight h6 could be a big threat. Watch out for knight h6, rook g8 mate ideas.
Yeah, knight h6, rook g8. The knight h6 there is.
For example, rook e1, you just go knight h6. Come in with the rook. Bishop c6 played, b4, so fixing black's pawns. And actually, Nordebek does manage to convert this game and this endgame and gets the point back. He joins a wonder on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
This is a massive game for the standings.
Absolutely. And at this point, I actually feel both these pieces, right? The knight on d7 and bishop on b7 are lacking squares. So I think white is going to win this game.
A quick update that Vincent beat Leitinge in that position that we thought that's slightly uncomfortable for black, which should be fine. We left it at queen d7. But let's stick to this because both players are down to a minute and a half. And this is the most important game really for the tournament standings currently.
Yeah, 93 is coming. So how do I stop that?
You can't go knight b6 because the f6 pawn is hanging. So that's not an option right now. But after knight e3, knight b6 is anyway possible, right? So maybe it's not a devastating threat yet.
But can't I cannot.
There's the rook on g2 in all those lines, right?
Yeah. So knight b6 will happen on the board. But wait, knight b6, I'll include rook g6 and then I'll take it.
Interesting. So can we just take a look at this, how this would happen? So let's say
maybe king e7 you have to put. No, but then also it's coming with a... No, I was thinking, if you play king e7, now I'm able to take because you're missing this square. From where you
By the way, knight b6 on the board.
Rook g6 also on the board. And if you put it on f7, I still take because this time your king is pinned.
So rook g6 played, and you can't take on h4 because rook f6 check wins the piece. You have to...
Can I play knight c4?
King e7 played. Not king e7. Knight d5.
You want to take bishop d5,
and rook h4.
Here. But this is also struggling, no or not?
Well, there is rook h3 ideas next, no?
True. But if I give a check, you want to come here, yeah?
King d6.
And pick up this pawn. All right. And if I take with the bishop, actually? And then you want to take e3. Then you take on e3.
Yeah.
So pretty much sure Nordic is calculating knight takes g5.
Down to a minute and 10 seconds, and then bishop d5 and rook h4. So what is happening? And bishop e6.
There is king g3.
King g3, rook. Oh my god, wait. Is that a trap? You got to go rook g4?
No, there is rook g4 because very interestingly, I cannot save this pawn.
Knight a4 is coming in.
Knight a4. Yeah, so who knows? Instead of all this, we saw...
But maybe white didn't like this. So understandably, white didn't like this and decided to go for knight g2, rerouting the knight to f4 to try and hit that h5 knight. And knight a4 played, loses the c3 pawn.
Why rook g4 was not played? Because he didn't want to get into this passed pawn. That's fair enough. So instead, he goes for exchange sacrifice.
Okay, after bishop e4, he's going to pick it up with the d pawn, I suspect, or with the knight.
I'm just wondering what he's thinking about. Is he considering knight f4?
Can we just take a look at bishop e4 while he has a think? You take with on the board, by the way. So d takes, and now you just give a check, or do you go a5? I was thinking about knight d5, knight b4. Okay. Knight d5, king d2 played. What is going on? What happens after knight b4?
I guess white has to also go for the pawns, no? But this is getting very sharp, Tania. Extremely sharp. So let's say I take on b4, you want to go knight f4. Can I ruthlessly start pushing my pawns and play a3? Sorry, a4. Knight takes f6, a3. This could get really spicy. Instead of all this, a move king f7 was played. And only after knight e3, now knight takes b4. I start to like black's position now. I don't know what white has done in last few moves. He did not manage to get any of these pawns. The knight is not doing much. And black has, look at these two pawns. These are monsters. a4 will happen. Actually,
this is turned around completely. I mean,
completely, yeah. Now I wonder is actually, I think he will win this game.
This is a nightmare for Nordic. Down to 20 seconds, even though he has an extra exchange, those two connected pass pawns on the queen side are going to make life very difficult for white.
Wow, and this is a very crucial game, right?
All right, this is when we do a poll. Do you guys believe that Nordic is going to be able to hold this or not? Mods in chat, let's ask for a prediction of the score. 1-0, 0-1, or will this end in a draw? Gangs, what would be your prediction right now?
Yeah. I would agree with YouTube chat Alan. I'll agree with Alan. Why can't simple position be simple? I mean, this was a simple position at some point, yeah. It did look very simple.
What did Alan say? Why can't chess positions be simple?
Why can't simple position be simple?
That's a good one, Alan. That's a good one.
No, now this looks like completely lost to me. First of all, okay, why can't I take this? Because you want to attack the knight, but how do you do this? For rook b1, I have bishop b3. For king c3, I have knight a2. So yeah, bishop d5 was probably missed. Rook c5 on the board, there has to be some sort of tactic happening here. He just decides to give this pawn. Could he have defended this somehow with maybe bishop b3, knight d3?
All right, but he gets the pawn to a2 in the bargain. That pawn on a2 is one step away. Now the rook is tied down to defending it. But it's maybe not so easy because you king c3, knight d3.
No, this just turned around because I don't think there was probably some other way. Okay, I could not, I didn't figure it out. But here it looks like black, I mean, white also escaped. Probably the game will end in a draw here.
Wow, so you're predicting a draw right now, yeah?
What happens to king? Yeah, rook a7.
Rook a7, do you just go king f8? Yeah, king f8 played, and now king e4?
Because knight b3, I have knight c2. Now there is knight c2.
Very important that not to take rook a2 because then there'll be a check picking up the bishop, picking up the rook.
And now again white is winning. Oh, I mean, at least I don't know if it is winning or not.
What do you mean white is winning? Gangs, you need to explain to us.
No, because sooner or later this pawn will be lost. Imagine, okay, I play king b4, I'll come knight b4. How do you protect this pawn? Right now I play knight b4. So then the question is if this is a fortress or not. Maybe it is a fortress. It's a tough call. So Nordibek has to understand if this is a fortress or not. That's on the board.
The king is cut off on f8, which is a good sign. And now it's on the board. So you just, what could be the plan here? You get the king all the way to d6.
No, this is a fortress. Absolutely fortress.
Is this a fortress? Are you saying that we're going to end the day the way we started the day?
Yes, 100% this is a fortress. I have no doubt on this. No, the problem is this bishop is invincible. Yeah, like you get your king to d6. I just maintain on this diagonal. Imagine you have your king to d6 at this point. What is your next move? I don't do anything. I play bishop c4. Just play bishop c4, bishop b3.
And you can give a check.
This is the bar, and I will not allow your king to cross and attack my pawn. And exactly, you cannot even attack my rook. I can just play moves like king f7.
You can't take it because you're queening. So that bishop is actually not on pre.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any way that black's king can get it can be pushed away from the f file?
No ways. Absolutely no ways. So black will for rest of the time, we started, you remember, we even started with a study.
That's what I said, gangs, that we're ending the day the way we started it.
Exactly.
And it's like that anti-engine situation, right? Right now, probably the computer evaluation is that white is doing well here. But actually, there's no way for white to break in.
Yeah, this will be a draw.
Wow, that's amazing.
What a turn of event, yeah. What a turn of event.
So this was crazy because white was doing so well throughout the opening and
king
throughout
G7,
the middle.
King G7, not king F7, because then, okay, again, you have to build another kind of fortress. Oh, actually not. Tania, I found something very funny that imagine you play this and I ignore, you take, and everything is fixed.
Yeah,
actually not.
You can even rush that by playing king G7, rook H5, bishop F7.
Yeah, but okay, it's still a draw because it's a wrong color. So you can always play rook G5.
So rook G5. Very nice. This is amazing.
So instead, king G7 on the board.
With the kind of turnarounds that we've had, that poll that we put up for the audience was quite useless, as that is informing us with all the ups and downs and the evaluations constantly changing in this one.
Yeah. So now this will be a draw. Is this the only game that is going on? Probably it is, yeah.
It does turn out that this is the only game. We will update everyone with the results after. Uh, what do you think, gangs? How long is this one going to go for? What's your prediction on that?
Forever. I actually in a very crucial game in one of the open tournament in Greece. In the final round I had to win the game, and I did not have this f pawn in the exact same position, and my opponent did not have the a pawn. It's a complete fortress.
Nodibek
I
was
actually,
yeah.
I
Go on,
actually, yeah. So I said without these 2 pawns, I got this position once. Without the f pawn and the a pawn, I was white. Black's pawn came all the way to f3, and then I ended up winning this game somehow magically, with a lot of help from my opponent. So anything can happen. One thing is important is that there is no need to change the plan. For example, Black can easily take this pawn anytime by giving away the pawn on a2, but there is no need to do so. You know one fortress is working, so stick to that. There is no need to go for the other fortress.
Okay, so let's do a master class on this. So you put your bishop on b3. When the king leaves, the a pawn, now you just keep your king on f7 and f8.
Yeah, you just stick to these 3 squares. At best, white will get his king to d6. You can have your, let's say white king is on d6, black king on f8, and there is rook on a7. You just maintain this diagonal. You never leave this diagonal. And that should do.
King e7. So white can't take on d5. So the bishop is actually never hanging because of the a pawn. Now just come back, king f8.
F8.
Be a happy camper. f8, f7.
Just any move, bishop b3.
What move number are we on? Let's see.
We made century. We're on 102.
Is this the longest game so far of the event?
Possibly.
Oh my god, we've crossed 100 moves, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I saw this position before in this very game. King d6.
103 moves. 103 moves. All right, how about this, gangs? We both make a prediction of the number of moves that of the move number. This will end in a draw, and the person closest wins.
125.
All right, I will go with 117.
Okay, so 12 more moves, yeah? So this is the position we were talking about. It's anyway a fortress. You just don't leave this diagonal, so king can never cross.
So 125 moves is the prediction from gangs, and I say 117 moves. And whoever loses, chat can give them a dare.
Yeah.
Let's just really raise the stakes here.
So white is kind of coming here and then again going to d6. That's his plan.
Okay, we are on 109 moves. These guys need to make a draw.
I think you'll win. I think 117 seems more reasonable. Cannot imagine what sort of plan.
I need it to be, where would it turn for us? You said 124. So at 120, I win as well.
8 more moves.
No, you said 125. So actually I win till 121. At 121, it's a draw.
By the time maybe 50 moves will be over. Okay, he's again coming up with king. So I have got some chance. He is coming up with his king. Where are we now?
Crazy stuff.
Can't even see the move number anymore.
Oh my god, they've crossed 117. That's a bit scary.
But the rook did not improve.
Yeah, it's not like the rook is better. The rook isn't better on a1 than it is on a7 for sure, right?
Yeah.
The king comes to d6, and now you just keep going king f8, king f7 anyways, and you can't go rook e7 because there's a1. I think this is the moment of truth.
Yeah, now he... Oh, sorry.
No, they keep playing, yeah? The thing is, for Nodibek, this is such a big game because if he wins, if there's just one miss, and the thing with these online events is there's always these perils, right? Of a mouse slip or of missing something because you're down to seconds. So I think for Nordebek, he just wants to take every single chance that he has in this game. It is his only shot at catching the leader.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying his best.
Wow, we're being told, by the way, we're being informed that 50 move rule will come up at 123 moves.
Oh.
So fair.
But in that case, I'm winning, yeah? So Tania, you get a dinner now from audience.
No, wait, where are we right now? Where are we right? Were you aware of this when you said 125 gangs?
No, I was not.
Oh my god, it's a draw. It's a draw. Wait, what move number is that?
123.
123, the 50 move rule. I think, you know what? This is amazing. What a fantastic game this was. Absolute fighting chess, gangs. 123 moves, a marathon game.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, Nordebek tried very hard, but yeah, there was simply no breakthrough.
Yeah, no breakthrough. But very interesting that he managed to create chances out of a Berlin, which we were just going to write off as something that will end very quickly. But he got some real chances in there. And then that big turnaround with those pawns marching down the board. It was a wonders game. So massive up and down there. And this is how the final round of the Kramnik Challenge Day 3 ended with Carissa Yip taking the point home. She defeated Polina. Christopher Yu, a big win for him. So still in the race going into the final day. 4 games remain. Christopher Yu still has a shot at winning the event. And let's not forget the big prize. The one player who's the champion gets a direct spot in the next event of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour starting on the 28th of August. Maurizi beat Yali Sokloveski. There was a draw on the other 3 games, and then Vincent taking another very important point home. So this means that we end the day with a wonder, a half a point ahead because he drew this game. So now the lead has really narrowed down. It's come to just a half a point, gangs. What are your expectations going into this final day of the Kramnik Challenge?
Still, I would say, judging by the games and everything, Evander is probably favorite at this moment. And we have only 4 rounds. And he already played with Nordebek. He also played with Vincent, did he?
Let's get a confirmation on that. Maybe Tad will just tell us.
Yeah,
It'll be very interesting to see actually what are the matchups. What is a wonder? What are the opponents that a wonder has tomorrow, as well as Vincent and who these guys are playing? Because maybe Tad, if you can just help us with that and let us know who does a wonder play tomorrow, the 4 games, and who does Vincent play? By the way, a big match coming up in round 14 tomorrow, which is the penultimate round where the 2 will face each other.
Yeah, that is going to be very, very crucial. So the championship is absolutely open. Here, half point does not matter at all.
Big stuff coming up into going into the final day of the Kramnik Challenge, and a Team Polgar maintains its lead. So it's also about individual glory, but also team glory. 50 and a half points to Team Polgar, a 5-point lead there. Gangs, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm just so pleased. Look at this heartbeat. It's so relaxed now. By the way, so Polina had a tough time, yeah, somehow.
In the end, yes, I think the last 2 games were tough for her. But still, let's just get those standings up one more time on our screen and just see where we stand. We see Carissa at 6.5. So she's the best female performer so far. And then we've got Lei at 6. Now it's going to be tough for them. I think they have to score very heavy tomorrow. And still to win the event is going to be pretty hard for Carissa or for Lei, because it's a 3-point difference between a wonder and Carissa.
True.
Also, by the way, I made a little mistake. Tomorrow, we've got only 3 games remaining. Which actually means that Vincent and a wonder. Yeah, Vincent and a wonder play in round 14. All right, so 3 games tomorrow.
3 games tomorrow, and with half a point lead, we can probably say it's mainly these 2 players. Like Evander and Vincent, they are trying. Although Christopher and Abdusattarov, they also keep outside chances.
Yeah, but I think they need not only to score heavy, but also they need some of the other results of other players to go their way.
Right, exactly. But yeah, the main game definitely we are looking forward is round 14, Vincent versus Evander. that will be a very crucial.
That's the big one.
That's the big one.
And gangs, I have to ask you, because I won't be a part of the commentary tomorrow. I've had, by the way, an absolute blast doing this with you on day 2 and day 3. Before I leave, I want to ask you, you've seen the way the tournament's gone. You've seen the kind of form both these players are. If you had to pick a player out of A Wonder and Vincent right now, the 2 big favorites to take this away, who would you pick?
Actually, a lot depends also on the color. Like, is Vincent white?
You just have to pick one. You just have to give me a name right now. I'm not letting you get away with a diplomatic answer here.
Okay, Vincent, I'll pick.
All right, gangs, making a hot take that he picks Vincent, who is currently half a point behind A Wonder. A massive day coming up in the Kramnik Challenge. It comes down to these final 3 games. Anything can happen. Gangs, it's been amazing doing this with you.
Thanks, Tania. It is wonderful to do commentary with you. And yeah, we had lots of fun, and I'll miss you tomorrow. But I hope to see you in the chat at least.
I will be there in chat, and you will be joined by Jesse February. So you're going to be in good hands. It's going to be a fun day of chess. A big shout out to everyone who's joined us on all our platforms for the Kramnik Challenge. Be back tomorrow, because that's where it's at with the final day coming up. Who will be the player who gets a spot in the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour? It's a sign off from us. Gangs, will see you tomorrow. I'll see you in chat.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.
If the rook goes to f7, then there is still
on g4. So after king to f6 and king to f2.
Tenemos el rey ahí en e8 un poco mal, no podemos enrocar corto.
Y también se puede hacer, por ejemplo, alfil g4.
Защиту. Но пока что они этого не делают. Играют ферзь d2, рокировка, и теперь играют c4.
Thank you so much for the lessons.
Gracias por las clases.
Gracias por las clases.
Want to raise your chess to a new level? Challenge Yourself is an exclusive, innovative experience designed for Chess24 Premium members. Train like a champ, with a unique set of lessons prepared by the coaches of the challengers. Boris Girlfriend and Co. will help you improve your chess. Play a champ. Play a grandmaster each day in Banter Blitz. Take advantage of this incredible opportunity from June 10th. Go premium and challenge yourself.